Michael Walsh thought saving a drowning woman would be the hardest thing he'd ever do. He was wrong. The woman he pulled from the Pleasant Valley River wasn't just anyone she was. Sophia Reynolds, billionaire CEO, with enemies who'd rather see her dead. Now they want Michael dead too. His daughters are targets. His life is currency. And the price for one moment of heroism. Everything he's ever loved. This is the story of how one good deed dragged a single father straight into hell. Before we dive in, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications because this story gets darker before it gets light. And drop a comment telling me what city you're watching from. I want to see how far Michael's story travels across this world. The water was supposed to wash away my sins, not give me new ones. Those were the first words Sophia Reynolds said to Michael Walsh after he dragged her half-dead body onto the muddy riverbank. Not thank you. Not you saved my life. Just that cryptic sentence that should have told him everything he needed to know about the nightmare he'd just stepped into. But Michael wasn't thinking about cryptic warnings that night. He was thinking about his factory shift that ended at 11, about the $17 left in his checking account, about Emma's school supplies he still couldn't afford, and little Sarah's asthma medication that cost more than he made in a week. He was thinking about survival, the kind that happens one grueling day at a time, when you're a single dad with 2 daughters and a dead-end job at Preston Manufacturing. He wasn't thinking about becoming a hero. The storm hit Pleasant Valley like it had a personal grudge. Rain hammered his windshield so hard Michael could barely see 5 feet ahead. His wipers were fighting a losing battle. He'd just decided to pull over, wait it out, maybe catch 10 minutes of sleep before facing another day when he saw the headlights. They were expensive headlights. The kind that cost more than his monthly salary. They were weaving across the Pleasant Valley Bridge like a drunk dancer, too fast, way too fast for weather like this. "Idiot's gonna kill himself," Danny muttered from the passenger seat. Michael watched the luxury sedan hit the guardrail once. Metal screamed. The car bounced off, overcorrected, hit the rail again on the other side. This time, the guardrail lost. The sound of tearing metal cut through the thunder. The car hung there for one impossible heartbeat, headlights pointed at the black sky like it was praying. Then, gravity remembered its job. The sedan dropped into the Pleasant Valley River like a stone into a grave. Michael's door was open before his brain caught up with his body. "What are you doing?" Danny grabbed his arm. "Michael, wait for the cops, man. You can't." But Michael was already running. His work boots slapped through puddles. Rain blinded him. Somewhere in the back of his mind, a voice that sounded like his ex-wife was calling him stupid reckless. The same voice that had called him those things when she left 3 years ago. He didn't stop running. The river hit him like a fist made of ice and fury. October water in Pleasant Valley didn't just want to make you cold. It wanted to stop your heart. Wanted to squeeze your lungs until they forgot how to work. The current grabbed his legs, tried to sweep him downstream toward the rocks that had killed 2 kayakers last spring. Michael forced his arms to move, forced his legs to kick. The car was already sinking. Tail end first, nose pointed up at an angle. Headlights still blazed underwater, turning the dark water sick green. Through the windshield, he could see hands pressed against glass. A woman's face, mouth open, screaming silence. He dove. The cold tried to kill him right there, tried to shock his system into shutdown. His chest felt like someone had wrapped barbed wire around his ribs and pulled tight, but he kept kicking, kept pulling himself down through water that felt thick as mud. His hand found the door handle. He pulled. Locked. Of course it was locked. Rich people and their automatic everything. Michael's lungs were already on fire. He surfaced, gasped air that tasted like rain and copper dove again. This time he went for the window. His work boot connected with glass once, twice, 3 times. The window spiderwebbed. 4th kick, and it exploded, inward chunks of safety glass tumbling into the flooding car. The woman inside had stopped moving. Her eyes were open, but empty. Her red hair floated around her face like blood in water. Michael grabbed her collar, her arm, anything solid, and pulled. She didn't budge. Seatbelt. Still locked. Still holding her in place while the river poured in through the broken window, filling the car, drowning her in slow motion. Michael's vision was starting to go gray at the edges. His fingers found the seatbelt release. Pressed. Nothing happened. The water pressure was too high. He pressed harder, used both thumbs, put everything he had into it. Click. She came free like a cork from a bottle tumbling into him, and suddenly they were both tangling in the current. Michael's head cracked against something solid. Stars exploded across his vision, bright and sharp. His grip on the woman started to slip. No. He thought about Emma. 8 years old, too smart for her own good, always asking questions he didn't know how to answer. He thought about Sarah. 6 years old, small for her age, scared of thunderstorms, and the dark and being alone. He thought about his daddy's voice, rough from cigarettes and lung cancer, whispering in a hospital bed. When you grab hold of something worth saving, son, you don't let go, not ever. Michael locked his arm around the woman's chest and kicked for the surface. The current fought him for every inch, tried to rip her away, tried to drag them both downstream to where the river got deep and fast and hungry. But Michael had spent 7 years moving sheet metal in a factory. Had spent 3 years being both mother and father to 2 little girls who needed him. His arms knew how to hold on when holding on was all you had left. They broke the surface together. Here. Danny's voice cut through the rain and thunder. He was on the bank with Michael's emergency rope, the one that had been sitting in his truck bed for 2 years. He threw it like he'd done it 1,000 times. Michael caught it one-handed, looped it under the woman's arms with fingers that barely worked anymore. Danny pulled. Michael kicked. Somehow they got her onto the muddy bank. She wasn't breathing. "I called 911, Danny shouted. "They're coming. They said 5 minutes, maybe 10, with the storm." Michael was already starting compressions. His hands found the center of her chest locked together, pushed down hard enough to crack ribs if he wasn't careful. But careful didn't save lives. 30 compressions, 2 breaths. Her lips were blue. Her skin looked gray in the flashlight beam. She looked dead. "Come on." Michael heard his own voice like it belonged to someone else. "Come on, lady, don't you dare." 30 compressions, 2 breaths. "I got 2 daughters at home." His voice cracked. "They need their dad. I can't have you dying on me. I can't carry that. You hear me?" 30 compressions. "I already got enough I can't carry." 2 breaths. She coughed. Water erupted from her mouth, river water mixed with something darker. She rolled onto her side, choking, gasping, her whole body convulsing. Her eyes opened. They were green. Sharp green. Intelligent. And they locked onto Michael with an intensity that made him uncomfortable even through his relief. Her mouth moved. Words came out rough and broken. The water was supposed to wash away my sins, not give me new ones. Then her eyes rolled back and she was gone again. But this time her chest kept moving. Up and down. Breathing. Alive. The ambulance arrived 8 minutes later. Paramedics took over with efficient hands and medical jargon Michael didn't understand. They wrapped the woman in thermal blankets, loaded her onto a stretcher, hooked her to machines that beeped and hummed. One of them, a young guy with kind eyes, turned to Michael. "You should come with us. Get checked out. You're hypothermic. That's not something you mess with." "I'm fine." "Sir, you jumped into a river in October. You're not fine." "I got a shift in 7 hours. Bills don't pay themselves." Michael was already walking back to his truck, his legs shaking, his clothes dripping, his teeth chattering so hard he bit his tongue. "You're a hero, man," Danny said on the drive home, but the word sat wrong in Michael's gut. Heroes were people in movies, people who wore capes and saved cities. He was just a factory worker who couldn't afford to let someone die on his watch. He got home at 12:47 a.m. The house was dark, except for the nightlight in Sarah's room, the one shaped like a butterfly that his ex-wife had left behind when she packed up and moved to California with her new husband. Michael peeled off his wet clothes, checked on both girls. Emma sprawled across her bed with a math book still open. Sarah curled tight around her stuffed rabbit and collapsed into his own bed without bothering to shower. Sleep came fast and hard and full of green water. The alarm went off at 5:30 a.m. Michael dragged himself upright, made coffee with grounds he'd already used twice, got the girls up and moving through the morning routine they'd perfected over 3 years of practice. "Dad, I need $20 for the field trip next week," Emma said over cereal. That was mostly generic brand, and a little bit of the name brand mixed in to make her feel less poor. "I'll see what I can do, baby. That's what you said last month." She wasn't accusing, just stating facts. 8 years old and already too good at math at calculating what they could and couldn't afford. "This month might be different." "You always say that too." Sarah coughed that wet rattle that meant her asthma was acting up again. Michael made a mental note to call the pharmacy, see if they'd extend his credit one more time. The inhaler was down to maybe 3 days of doses, 4 if he was lucky. He got them on the bus at 7:43. Watched it pull away like he did every morning, Emma's face in the window, waving Sarah already lost in whatever 6-year-olds dreamed about. Then he turned back toward the house to grab his work bag. That's when he saw the car. Black Mercedes, parked in front of his house like it had grown there overnight. Paint so perfect it looked wet. Chrome so shiny, Michael could see his reflection from 15 feet away. The woman who stepped out made the car look cheap. She wore a gray suit that probably cost more than his truck. Her red hair was pulled back in a way that said, "Control power, no mistakes allowed." She moved like someone who'd never worried about money, never stood in a grocery store trying to figure out if the name brand was worth the extra $1.50. But Michael recognized the eyes, those sharp green eyes that had stared at him from the mud last night. "Mr. Walsh." Her voice was different now, strong. No water in her lungs, no death in her throat. "I'm Sophia Reynolds. You saved my life last night. You should be in a hospital. I discharged myself at 4 a.m. She walked toward him like she owned his driveway, his house, his whole struggling life. Against medical advice, as they made very clear. "We need to talk." "About what?" "About the fact that you jumped into a river in October to save someone you'd never met. About the fact that you performed CPR for 6 minutes, despite being hypothermic yourself. About the fact that you refused an ambulance because you couldn't afford it." She stopped 3 feet away, studying him, like he was an equation she needed to solve. "I had my people do research last night, Mr. Walsh. While I was lying in that hospital bed, I had them pull everything about the man who saved my life." Michael felt something cold settle in his stomach. "That's public record mostly. Single father, 2 daughters. Emma age 8, Sarah age 6. Divorced 3 years ago. Your ex-wife remarried and moved to Los Angeles. You work at Preston Manufacturing, been there 7 years. You make $32,000 a year. You're 3 months behind on your mortgage. You have $17,000 in medical debt from Sarah's asthma treatments. You buy the cheap cereal and mix it with the good stuff so your daughters don't feel poor." She paused. "You have $17 in your checking account. The bank's been sending overdraft warnings." Michael's jaw tightened. "You had no right. I had every right." She reached into her jacket, pulled out an envelope. "You saved my life. That gives me the right to return the favor. I don't need charity." "Good, because I'm not offering any. I'm offering a job." She held out the envelope. "I'm the CEO of Horizon Technologies. We run a humanitarian foundation that develops medical technology for underserved communities. Portable dialysis systems, low-cost insulin pumps, equipment that can save lives in places where money's too tight and death comes too easy." Michael stared at the envelope like it might bite him. "I need someone in my operations division," Sophia continued. "Someone who understands manufacturing. Someone who thinks on their feet. Someone who doesn't quit when things get hard." Her green eyes held his. "Someone who jumps into rivers in October. I'm not qualified. You have a mechanical engineering degree from state. You got it at night school while working full-time and raising a baby. You've designed 3 improvements to Preston's production line that saved them over $200,000. They gave you a $50 gift card and no credit. She thrust the envelope toward him. I'm offering $75,000 a year to start. Full benefits. Health insurance that will cover Sarah's medications, Emma's dental work, everything. Housing stipend. College fund contributions for both girls. Michael's hand moved toward the envelope before his brain gave permission. Why? Because talent shouldn't be wasted. Because desperation shouldn't be permanent. Because good people deserve good chances. She glanced back at her car, where a massive man in a black suit stood watching them with eyes that never stopped moving. And because you're going to need protection in the next few weeks. The cold in Michael's stomach turned to ice. Protection from what? From whoever cut my brake line last night. The words hung between them like smoke. That was an accident, Michael said, but his voice sounded hollow even to himself. The storm. The storm didn't cut my brake line, didn't tamper with my steering column, didn't disable my airbag system. Sophia's voice dropped lower. Someone wanted me dead last night, Mr. Walsh. They planned it carefully. Picked the storm, picked the bridge, picked the timing. They got unlucky because you happened to be driving past. Because you're the kind of man who jumps into rivers instead of calling 911 and waiting. I didn't see anything, just headlights and... You saw enough. She glanced at the house, at the peeling paint, at the roof that sagged slightly on the left side. My head of security ran the angles. Whoever pushed me off that bridge will do their homework just like I did. They'll find you, the witness, the man who pulled their target out of the water. The man who can testify about timing, about how the car moved, about details they don't want anyone examining too closely. Michael's throat went dry. I've got kids. I know. That's why you need to take this job. Move into Horizon's employee housing. Let me put security on your family. Let me help you the way you helped me. You're scared, Michael said suddenly, seeing it in the way her hand trembled slightly on the envelope, in the way her eyes kept moving to the street. You're terrified. For just a second the mask cracked. Sophia Reynolds, Billionaire CEO, looked human. My father built Horizon Technologies from nothing, she said quietly. He died 6 months ago. Heart attack, they said. Sudden, unexpected, tragic. Her hand tightened on the envelope. But my father had the heart of a horse, ran marathons at 60. His doctor said he'd live to 90. And 3 weeks before he died, he told me someone was trying to steal our research. Someone inside the company, someone close. Did you tell the police? The police said there was no evidence of foul play. Case closed. But I know my father, and I know that car crash last night was just like his heart attack. Convenient, clean, almost perfect. She pressed the envelope into his hand. Almost. The paper felt heavy, like it weighed more than it should. You have 48 hours to decide, Sophia said. After that, I can't guarantee your safety, or mine, or... She glanced at the now empty street where the school bus had been theirs. She turned back toward her car. Wait. Michael's voice stopped her. How do I know this isn't crazy? How do I know you're not paranoid? Sophia looked back over her shoulder. Check your truck, Mr. Walsh, the brake line. You might find it interesting. Then she was gone, the Mercedes gliding away, silent as a shark. Michael stood in his driveway holding the envelope. Inside was a contract. A check for $10,000 marked signing bonus, and a note in elegant handwriting, they're watching you now, be careful. He looked up and down his street. Everything looked normal. Mrs. Patterson watering her roses, the Lopez kids fighting over a basketball, mail truck making rounds. But there was a sedan parked 3 houses down. Dark blue, tinted windows. It had been there when he'd put the girls on the bus, still there now. Engine off, but someone sitting in the driver's seat visible only as a shadow. Michael's phone buzzed in his pocket. Unknown number. His thumb hovered over the decline button. Something made him answer. Michael Walsh. The voice was male, smooth, educated. dangerous in a way that had nothing to do with volume. That was quite the heroic performance last night. Who is this? Someone who's wondering if heroes can be bought. Tell me, Mr. Walsh, how much would it cost to make you forget what you saw? I don't know what you're talking about. No. Let me clarify. A pause, papers rustling. Your daughter Emma, Jefferson Elementary. Mrs. Rodriguez's third-grade class. She has a field trip next Thursday to the Science Museum. Costs $20 you don't have. Your daughter Sarah. Asthma. Severe. She uses an albuterol inhaler. Current prescription expires in 3 days. Refill costs $97. Also, money you don't have. Michael's hand tightened on the phone so hard the screen cracked slightly. You stay away from my daughters. Then you stay away from Sophia Reynolds. Forget last night happened. Forget you saw anything. Turn down whatever job she offered you. Live your quiet life, Mr. Walsh, and let your daughters live theirs. The voice dropped to something colder than the river had been. But if you take that job, if you get involved in things that don't concern you well, accidents happen. Rivers aren't the only dangerous places in this world. Schools can be dangerous too. Buses, crosswalks, medicine can be contaminated. Inhalers can malfunction. I'll go to the police. And tell them what? That someone called you, that you have a feeling the police need evidence, Mr. Walsh. And evidence has a way of disappearing when the right people want it gone. A pause. You seem like a smart man, a good father. Make the smart choice. Make the choice that keeps your daughters safe. The line went dead. Michael stood frozen. The envelope felt like it was burning his hand. He looked at the sedan 3 houses down. As he watched, it started its engine and pulled away from the curb. Slow, deliberate, making sure he saw it leave. His phone rang again. Different number. This one he recognized from the business card Sophia had left in the envelope. They contacted you. Not a question. Sophia's voice was tight. What did they say? How did you? Because they contacted me too. 12 hours after the crash. Anonymous email. Very polite. Very clear. Drop my father's investigation, or more accidents would happen. Her voice hardened. I don't respond well to threats, Mr. Walsh. Neither should you. They threatened my daughters. I know. I'm sending my security team to your house right now. You need to pack. I can't just leave. I've got work. The girls have school. Their whole lives are here. Your daughters get out of school at 3:15. It's 9:47 now. That's 5 hours and 28 minutes to make sure you're all somewhere safe before whoever called you makes their next move. Sophia's voice was steel-wrapped in urgency. I know you don't know me. I know this sounds insane, but I've learned to trust my instincts, and my instincts say you and your daughters are in danger. Real danger. The kind that doesn't send warnings twice. Michael looked at his house. The mailbox he'd repaired with duct tape. The steps he'd been meaning to fix for 6 months. The life he'd barely managed to hold together with wire and hope and stubborn refusal to quit. He looked at the contract in his hand. He looked at the empty space where the sedan had been. What do I bring? Photos. Sarah's medications. Whatever Emma can't sleep without. Clothes for a week. Leave everything else. A pause. And Mr. Walsh. Thank you. For what? For jumping in the river. For being too stupid to wait for someone smarter. For being the kind of man who doesn't calculate odds before doing the right thing. The line went dead. Michael ran inside. His hands shook as he pulled garbage bags from under the sink. He threw in clothes without folding them, grabbed Sarah's medications from the bathroom, Emma's favorite books from her room, the stuffed rabbit, photos of the girls as babies, his wedding ring that he kept in a drawer and didn't know why. His phone buzzed. Text from Emma's school. Emma says she forgot her lunch. Should we call you for pickup? Normal. Everything was normal except nothing was normal. He texted back, keep her there, I'll bring something. Another buzz. Danny from work. You okay, man? You looked rough last night. Everyone acting like yesterday was just yesterday. Like the world hadn't tilted sideways. Like Michael's life hadn't become something out of a movie he'd never wanted to watch. He went to his truck to grab one more bag. That's when he saw it. His brake line. Hanging loose. Cut clean through. Fresh. Done sometime between when he'd parked at midnight and now. Sophia had warned him. Had told him to check. And she'd been right. Michael's stomach dropped into his feet. They'd already made their move. While he slept. While his daughters slept 10 feet away through one thin wall. A horn honked. 2 black SUVs pulled up in front of his house. Government dark windows. The kind of vehicles that didn't belong in neighborhoods where people fixed mailboxes with duct tape. The massive man from earlier stepped out. Up close he was even bigger. 6'5" at least. Shoulders like he moved buildings for fun. Mr. Walsh, I'm Marcus Chen, head of security for Horizon Technologies. Ms. Reynolds sent me to collect you and your family. His voice was surprisingly gentle for someone his size. We need to move, now. My daughters are at school. I have a team picking them up as we speak. Jefferson Elementary and Sunrise Pre-K, correct. The fact that he knew made Michael's skin crawl and feel safer at the same time. How do I know you're legit? Marcus pulled out his phone, handed it over. Video call. Sophia Reynolds stared out at him from what looked like an office made of glass and steel. Michael, I know this is fast. I know it's terrifying. But Marcus is the best. Former Secret Service. He's kept me alive through 3 attempts in 6 months. He'll keep you alive too. Her green eyes held his through the screen. Trust him. Trust me. Or trust your gut. But do it in the next 60 seconds because we're out of time. Michael looked at his cut brake line. Looked at Marcus Chen's steady professional eyes. Looked at his house, shabby and precious, and no longer safe. Let's go, he said. They moved fast. Marcus had 2 other men with him, both with the same watchful intensity. They loaded Michael's garbage bags into one SUV, did a sweep of the house that took 90 seconds, and looked military precise. Sir, we found these. One of the men held up 3 small devices. Listening bugs. 1 from the living room. 1 from the kitchen. 1 from Sarah's bedroom. Michael felt something cold and dark spread through his chest. Someone had been in his house. Had been listening while he talked to his daughters. Had heard Sarah's cough, Emma's complaints about the field trip. Had heard everything. How long? His voice came out wrong. Based on the battery life. Maybe 3 days. 3 days of someone listening to his family. 3 days of being watched like insects under glass. We need to move, sir. Marcus was already heading for the door. Our team has your daughters. They're safe. But we need to consolidate position. Michael followed him out, took one last look at the house. The life he'd built. The life that was already gone already in the rearview mirror. Already something that happened to someone else. The SUV door closed with a heavy thunk. Bulletproof, Michael realized. Everything about these vehicles said bulletproof. They drove fast, but not illegal. Marcus sat in front, constantly scanning phone pressed to his ear. Eagle has the package, moving to Nest, ETA 12 minutes. The other vehicle had split off, heading toward the elementary school. Where are we going? Michael asked. Horizon Technologies' main campus. Secure facility. 24-hour security. No one gets in without biometric clearance. Marcus glanced back. Ms. Reynolds has a suite there. You and your daughters will stay until we neutralize the threat. And if you can't neutralize it, then we relocate you. New city, new identities, full protection until... Stop. Michael's head was spinning. Stop talking like this is normal. Stop acting like my life just became a witness protection case. I jumped in a river, that's all. His phone rang. Unknown number again. Marcus's hand shot out. Don't answer that. But Michael was already pressing the button. What? Mr. Walsh. The smooth voice from before. Interesting choice you're making. Very interesting. I'd hoped you'd be smarter, for your daughter's sake. My daughters are safe. Are they Emma's on the bus right now? Bus number 47. Yellow. Driver named Carl Henderson, been doing the route for 11 years. Bus passes through an intersection at Maple and 5th in exactly a pause 4 minutes. Very busy intersection. Very dangerous. Lot of accidents there. Michael's blood turned to ice water. Marcus. But Marcus was already on his phone barking orders. Intercept bus 47. Now. Now. The voice on Michael's phone laughed. Not mean, almost regretful. You should have taken the money, Mr. Walsh. Should have forgotten. Now we have to do this the hard way. And the hard way hurts. The line went dead. Faster, Michael heard himself say. Drive faster. Marcus was already accelerating, the SUV engine roaring. My team has the bus in sight. They're intercepting now. What about Sarah? Pre-K is already secured. She's with my people. Safe. Michael's phone rang again. This time it was a video call. He answered without thinking. The screen showed the interior of a school bus. Emma's school bus. He could see her red backpack in one of the seats, but the seat was empty. The camera panned to show Emma standing in the aisle. A man in a dark jacket stood behind her. His face was off camera. His hand rested on her shoulder. Emma looked terrified. Dad? Her voice was small. There's a man here. He says he knows you. Emma, baby, listen to me. The man leaned down, his face still hidden. When he spoke, it was the smooth voice from the phone calls. You have a choice to make, Mr. Walsh. Right now. Turn around. Go home. Forget everything. Or I take her somewhere you'll never find her. Please. Michael's voice broke. She's 8 years old. She's just a little girl. Then act like her father. Protect her. Make the smart choice. The screen went black. Marcus. Michael grabbed the man's shoulder. They have Emma. They have my daughter. I know. My team is already on it. We've got 6 vehicles converging on that bus, police en route, helicopter in the air. Marcus's voice was steady, professional, but his knuckles were white on the steering wheel. We're going to get her back. You don't understand. They're going to hurt her. They're going to... Mr. Walsh. Marcus met his eyes in the rearview mirror. I have a daughter. She's 9. I understand exactly what you're feeling right now, but panic doesn't save her. Training saves her. Resources save her. And Ms. Reynolds has more resources than God. The SUV screamed through an intersection, lights flashing. Michael's phone rang again. Sophia. I know, she said before he could speak. I'm watching the same feeds Marcus is. Every camera in a 3-block radius. We've got eyes on the bus. Emma's visible, still on board. The man with her is hold on. Michael could hear voices in the background, orders being given. Then Sophia was back. We've ID'd him. His name is Peter Krause, ex-military, works as a contractor for Nexus Health Corporation. They're one of our competitors. They've been trying to acquire Horizon's dialysis technology for 2 years. Her voice turned hard. They've also been systematically eliminating everyone who stands in their way. I don't care about corporate espionage. I care about my daughter. They're the same thing now. You became part of this the moment you pulled me out of that river. A pause. Marcus's team is moving in. I need you to stay calm and trust them. How can I? The video feed came back on. Michael's phone showed the bus interior again. But this time there were men in tactical gear storming down the aisle. Professional, fast, overwhelming force. Peter Krause let go of Emma and raised his hands. It was over in 15 seconds. One of the tactical team picked up. Emma carried her off the bus like she weighed nothing. She was crying, but moving alive, safe. We have her, Marcus said. Meeting point in 3 minutes. Ye. They pulled into a parking garage. Concrete and shadows. Another SUV was already there. The door opened, and Emma tumbled out, running toward Michael with tears streaming down her face. "Daddy!" He caught her, held her so tight he was afraid he'd break her. She was shaking. So was he. "You're okay. You're okay. I've got you." There was a man. He said bad things. He said, "I know, baby, I know, but you're safe now. You're safe." Marcus was talking into his phone, coordinating, but he paused long enough to say, "Sir, we need to keep moving." Michael picked Emma up, even though she was too big to be carried anymore, held her like she was 3 years old again, like he could protect her from the world by keeping her close enough. They drove to Horizon Technologies in silence, except for Emma's quiet crying. The campus was glass and steel, and security checkpoints every 50 yards. They went through 4 different layers before reaching the central building. Sophia Reynolds was waiting in a conference room. She looked at Emma, at Michael, and something softened in her expression. "I'm sorry," she said. "I'm sorry this happened. I'm sorry they used her to get to you. I'm sorry you ever pulled me out of that river." "Don't." Michael's voice was rough. "Don't apologize for being saved." "Then I'll apologize for what I'm about to ask you to do." Sophia gestured to the screens on the wall. They showed maps, photos, documents. A conspiracy laid out in data and evidence. Because now that they've shown their hand, now that they've gone after your daughter, there's only one way to end this. We have to fight back. We have to take them down completely, and I need your help to do it. Emma was still clinging to his neck. Michael could feel her heartbeat too fast, still scared. He looked at Sophia Reynolds, at the woman he'd pulled from dark water, at the CEO who'd just deployed a private army to save his daughter. He thought about $17 in his checking account and 3 months of missed mortgage payments and a life that had been barely holding together with duct tape and prayer. He thought about Peter Krause's hand on Emma's shoulder. "Tell me what you need," Michael said. Sophia smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. It was the smile of someone who'd been pushed too far and was done retreating. "I need you to help me destroy Nexus Health. And I need you to help me find out who killed my father." She pulled up a photo on the screen. An older man with kind eyes and Sophia's red hair. "Because they're the same people. And they've been stealing our research, sabotaging our work, and murdering anyone who gets in their way. My father was first. I was supposed to be second. Now they've gone after your daughter." She turned to face him fully. "So let me ask you something, Michael Walsh. You jumped into a river to save someone you didn't know. Would you jump into something worse to save everyone you do?" Michael looked at Emma, at Marcus and his team standing ready, at the screens showing a conspiracy that had reached into his home, his life, his daughter's school bus. He thought about being a hero, about how he'd never wanted to be one, about how sometimes you don't get to choose. "Yeah," he said, "I would." Outside, thunder rolled. A new storm was coming. But this time, Michael Walsh was ready for it. Emma fell asleep in Michael's arms 20 minutes after they arrived at Horizon's secure wing. One moment she was clinging to him, the next her breathing had gone soft, and even her body finally surrendering to exhaustion. Michael sat frozen in the leather chair, afraid to move, afraid to wake her, afraid that if he let go, she'd disappear. "There's a room prepared." Sophia spoke quietly from the doorway. 2 beds. Private bathroom. Fully stocked. Sarah's already there with one of our medical staff checking her breathing. Sarah. Michael had almost forgotten in the chaos. "Is she okay?" "Scared but safe. She's been asking for you." Sophia stepped into the conference room. Without the rain and the darkness, without the river trying to kill them both, she looked different, smaller somehow, more human. "Marcus will take you to them. Get some rest. We'll talk in the morning." Morning. Michael glanced at the windows. Still daylight outside, gray and overcast. "What time is it?" "Nearly noon. Feels like midnight though, doesn't it?" She moved to the window, stared out at the campus spread below. That's what fear does. Compresses time. Makes hours feel like minutes. Minutes feel like years. How long have you been scared? Sophia was quiet for a moment. 6 months. Since the day my father died, and I realized someone had murdered him. Since I started seeing threats in every shadow poison and every meal accidents that weren't accidents. She turned to face him. But this morning, when I heard they'd gone after Emma, that was a different kind of fear. That was the fear of knowing I'd dragged an innocent family into my war. You didn't drag us anywhere. I jumped. You jumped into water, not into corporate espionage and murder conspiracies. Maybe I'm in over my head then. Sophia almost smiled. You pulled me out when you were drowning too. That takes a special kind of stupid brave. It's exactly what I need right now. Marcus appeared in the doorway. Sir, if you're ready. Michael stood carefully, Emma's weight solid and real in his arms. What happens now? Now you rest. Tomorrow we plan. Tomorrow we figure out how to turn you from a factory worker into the man who helps me save my father's legacy and destroy the people trying to steal it. Sophia's green eyes held his. Tomorrow we turn the victim into the weapon. I'm not a weapon. I'm a dad. You're both, and that's what terrifies them most. Marcus led Michael through corridors that looked like they belonged in a sci-fi movie. Glass walls, biometric scanners, people in white coats carrying tablets. Everything clean and expensive, and so far from Michael's world, he felt like an imposter. The room was on the 3rd floor, sweet, really. 2 bedrooms connected by a living area with a kitchenette and a couch that probably cost more than Michael's truck. Sarah was curled on that couch with a woman in scrubs sitting beside her. Daddy. Sarah's voice was hoarse but strong. She launched herself at him, and suddenly, Michael had 2 daughters wrapped around him, both crying, both safe, both alive. I've got you. He sank onto the couch with them. I've got both of you. You're safe now. Emma said there was a bad man on the bus. Sarah's face was buried in his chest. Emma said he was scary. He's gone now. The bad man is gone. Are there more bad men? Michael looked at Marcus, who stood by the door like a statue, looked at the medical staffer who was quietly gathering her things, looked at his daughters, who deserved the truth, but also deserved to feel safe. Yeah, baby. There might be, but the good men are going to protect us. Mr. Marcus and his friends. They're like superheroes. Real superheroes. The real kind, the kind without capes. Sarah pulled back to look at Marcus. Are you a superhero? Marcus's expression didn't change, but something flickered in his eyes. I try to be, miss. What's your power? I'm really good at keeping people safe. That's a good power. Sarah's voice was getting sleepy. Better than flying, maybe. The medical staffer approached quietly. Mr. Walsh, I've checked Sarah's lungs. There's some inflammation, but nothing critical. I've got her medications ready, including a new inhaler. This one's better than what you had before, lasts longer, works faster. She set a small bag on the table. Everything's in there, instructions too. Any problems, press the call button. Someone will come immediately. Thank you. She nodded and left. Marcus followed her out, pulling the door closed with a soft click. And then it was just Michael and his daughters in a room that cost more per night than he made in a month, refugees in a war they didn't understand. Dad. Emma's voice was small. Are we going to be okay? Michael thought about lying. Thought about promising everything would be fine, that they'd go home tomorrow, that life would go back to normal. But Emma was 8. She was smart. She deserved better than comfortable lies. I don't know, baby. I really don't. But I'm going to do everything I can to make sure we are. Is this because you saved that lady? The one from the river? Yeah, it is. Emma was quiet for a moment. Do you wish you hadn't? The question hit him harder than it should have. Did he wish he'd driven past? Let someone else call 911. Let Sophia Reynolds drown in that dark water, while he went home to his $17 checking account and his 3 months of overdue mortgage. No, he said finally. I don't wish that. Even with everything that's happened, even with you being scared and that man on the bus, I'd still jump in that river. Why? Because she needed help. Because I was there. Because he stopped, tried to find words for something he didn't fully understand himself. Because sometimes you do the right thing even when it costs you. That's what makes you human instead of just alive. Mom used to say you were too good for your own good. Michael flinched. His ex-wife's words filtered through their daughter's memory. Your mom said a lot of things. She was wrong, though. Emma looked up at him with eyes too old for 8 years. Being good isn't bad. The bad men are bad. You're just good. That's better. Michael felt something crack in his chest. He pulled both girls closer. You two are the best things I ever did. You know that? Even better than saving the CEO lady? So much better it's not even close. They sat like that for a long time. Eventually, Sarah fell asleep too sprawled across his lap. Emma followed soon after. Michael sat in the expensive silence, holding his daughters, trying not to think about cut brake lines and men on buses and wars he didn't know how to fight. His phone buzzed. Text from Sophia. Get some rest. Tomorrow starts early. He texted back. What happens tomorrow? Tomorrow I show you what they're trying to steal, and why your engineering degree is worth more than you think. Michael stared at the message. His engineering degree. The one he'd earned in night classes while working full-time and raising Emma as a baby. The degree that got him exactly nowhere except a factory job where he redesigned production lines for $50 gift cards. Another text. You saved my life by jumping into water. Tomorrow I need you to help me save thousands of lives by jumping into something bigger. Sleep if you can. You'll need it. Michael carried the girls to bed one at a time. Tucked them in. Sarah in one room, Emma in the other. Both doors open so he could hear them breathe. Then he collapsed onto the couch and stared at the ceiling, trying to process everything that had happened in the last 20 hours. Yesterday, he'd been a factory worker scraping by. Today, he was caught in a corporate war with his daughters as collateral. Tomorrow, he'd apparently become something else entirely. He didn't sleep, just lay there counting the minutes until dawn, listening to his daughters breathe, wondering how many more breaths they'd get if he made the wrong choice. Morning came gray and cold. Michael was already awake, had been for hours, when the knock came at 6 a.m. He opened the door to find Marcus holding a tray with coffee and breakfast. Ms. Reynolds asked me to bring this, said you'd need the fuel. Marcus set the tray on the table. Real eggs, real bacon, fresh fruit, the kind of breakfast Michael's daughters saw in commercials but never ate. She also asked me to bring you to the lab at 7, alone. The girls will be safe here. I've got 2 of my best people outside this door. I don't want to leave them. I understand. But what Ms. Reynolds needs to show you, she can't show with children present. Marcus's expression was serious. Trust me, sir. I've got daughters too. I wouldn't ask if it wasn't necessary. Michael looked back at the bedrooms where Emma and Sarah were still sleeping. If anything happens, you'll know within 5 seconds, and the people responsible will regret every choice they ever made. Marcus said it like he was commenting on the weather. Flat, factual, terrifying. At 6:45, Michael kissed both girls on the forehead, left them with strict instructions to stay in the room, and followed Marcus through Horizon's corridors. They went down. Elevators, security checkpoints, deeper into the building until they were underground in levels that didn't appear on any public floor plan. Sophia was waiting in a lab that looked like it belonged in a hospital. Clean white surfaces, medical equipment Michael didn't recognize, and in the center of it all on a table, a device about the size of a laptop. This is what they're killing for. Sophia gestured to the device. The Phoenix system. Portable dialysis unit. Battery-powered. Weighs 12 pounds. Costs about $300 to manufacture. She ran her hand over it like it was precious. Like it was sacred. Traditional dialysis requires patients to go to treatment centers 3 times a week, 4 hours per session. Costs about $90,000 a year. Keeps you alive but chains you to a machine and a schedule. Michael stepped closer. And this gives you freedom. Home dialysis, daily treatments, better outcomes, lower costs. My father spent 15 years developing it. Partnered with hospitals in Kenya, India, rural America. Places where dialysis centers don't exist. Places where kidney failure is a death sentence. Her voice caught. He was going to release it as open-source technology. Free for anyone to manufacture. Free for anyone who needed it. That's incredible. That's why they killed him. Sophia's eyes went hard. Nexus Health runs dialysis centers across the country. 1,200 locations. $3 billion in annual revenue. This device would destroy their business model overnight. So they've been trying to acquire it. Buy us out. When my father refused, they offered more money. Then more. Then they started playing dirty. Sabotage. Worse. They started buying up our suppliers, making it impossible for us to get parts. They filed 17 frivolous lawsuits trying to tie us up in legal battles. They planted stories in the media about safety concerns that didn't exist. They sent the FDA inspectors to harass our manufacturing facility. She picked up the device, held it like a baby. And when none of that worked, they killed my father and made it look like natural causes. Michael felt cold. Can you prove it? Not yet. But I'm close. I've got financial records showing money flowing from Nexus to shell companies to contractors like Peter Krause. I've got internal emails discussing handling the Reynolds problem. I've got enough to suggest a conspiracy, but not enough to prove murder in court. She set the device down. That's where you come in. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not an investigator. No, you're an engineer. Sophia pulled up a screen showing technical schematics. This is the Phoenix system's design. My father created it, but I've been improving it, making it smaller, more efficient, more reliable. 2 months ago, our entire research database was hacked. Someone got in through our network, bypassed our security, and copied everything. Every design file, every test result, every manufacturing specification. Nexus. Obviously. But I can't prove it. The hack was sophisticated, routed through 12 different countries, covered its tracks perfectly. She zoomed in on the schematic. But here's what I learned. The hackers didn't just copy our research. They left something behind. A back door. A way to get back in whenever they want. And I need someone who understands engineering and manufacturing to help me turn that back door into a trap. Michael stared at the screen. You want to catch them hacking you? I want to let them think they're stealing the final production designs. I want to feed them data that looks perfect, but has flaws. Fatal flaws. Flaws that won't show up in testing, but will cause the devices to fail in the field. Her smile was sharp. And when Nexus releases their knockoff version and people start getting hurt, I want the evidence trail leading directly back to them. That's... Michael stopped. That's brilliant and terrifying. It's war. And in war, you use every weapon you have. Sophia turned to face him fully. My father built this company on helping people, on making medicine accessible, on refusing to profit from suffering. Nexus represents everything he hated. They see sick people as revenue streams. They see life-saving treatment as a business opportunity. They killed him to protect their profit margins. So you want revenge. I want justice. But yes, revenge is part of it. She didn't apologize for it. I want to destroy them the way they destroyed my father. I want to expose them, bankrupt them, send their executives to prison, And I want to release the Phoenix system exactly the way my father intended. Free, open source, available to anyone who needs it. Michael looked at the device on the table. 12 pounds of metal and circuits that could save millions of lives. That had already cost at least one life. That had dragged him and his daughters into danger. What do you need me to do? Help me redesign this. Sophia gestured to the schematics. You spent 7 years on a factory floor. You understand manufacturing in ways I don't. You know where things can go wrong, where shortcuts get taken, where quality control fails. She pulled up another screen showing production data. I need you to help me create a version of these designs that looks perfect but will fail catastrophically. And I need you to help me make sure our real version is flawless. If people get hurt from the fake designs, they won't, because Nexus will never actually manufacture them. They'll run tests, find the flaws, realize they've been had, and by then we'll have evidence of them stealing our research, proof of their espionage, enough to bury them legally while we release the real technology to the world. Michael's head was spinning. This is corporate espionage. Isn't this illegal? They hacked our servers, stole our research, murdered my father, put your daughter on a bus with a kidnapper. Sophia's voice was ice. I'm way past worrying about legal technicalities. But I'm not. I've got 2 daughters who need their father not in prison. Which is why we do this smart. Why we document everything. Why we build a case that's airtight. She softened slightly. I'm not asking you to break the law, Michael. I'm asking you to help me catch people who already did. To help me make sure they face consequences. To help me save the company my father built and the lives his technology can save. Michael was quiet for a long moment. He thought about Emma's terrified face on that video call. Thought about Sarah's inhaler that he could finally afford. Thought about his cut brake line and listening devices in his house. When do we start? Right now. Sophia pulled out a chair at a workstation loaded with monitors and design software. I'll show you what we have. You tell me where the weaknesses are. We'll work together to create 2 versions, the real one and the poison pill. They worked through the morning. Sophia knew the medical side, the biological requirements, the clinical specifications. Michael knew the manufacturing side, the realities of production lines and quality control, and where things went wrong in the real world. This junction here. Michael pointed to a connection point in the dialysis circuit. In the real version, you want stainless steel welded with medical-grade solder. But in the fake version, we spec aluminum with standard industrial solder. Looks the same on paper. Tests fine in short-term trials. But after a few months of use, the different thermal expansion rates will cause microfractures. Sophia's eyes lit up. The device would fail before ever reaching a patient. Exactly. Nexus would catch it in extended testing, realize they've been screwed, but we'd have proof they were manufacturing our stolen designs. Beautiful. Sophia was already making notes. What else? They found 17 different ways to sabotage the fake designs. Small things, subtle things, things that would pass initial inspection but fail under real-world conditions. Michael had learned every one of them the hard way, watching factory floors cut corners, watching engineers optimize for cost instead of reliability. You're good at this, Sophia said around noon. I'm good at knowing how things break. 7 years of watching machines fail teaches you a lot. It's more than that. You think like a builder and a destroyer at the same time. That's rare. Ew. She saved their work encrypted. It backed it up to servers Michael assumed were heavily secured. My father would have liked you. Yeah. He always said the best engineers were the ones who'd worked with their hands, who'd seen the gap between design and reality, who understood that perfect on paper means nothing if it doesn't work in the field. She smiled, sad and proud at the same time. He started this company in a garage, built the first prototypes himself, never forgot where he came from. Sounds like a good man. He was, which is why they had to kill him. The sadness vanished, replaced by something harder. Men like my father are dangerous. They disrupt systems, challenge power, refuse to play by rules written to protect the wealthy, so the system eliminates them. Unless someone fights back. Unless someone fights back, Sophia agreed. Someone like you. I'm not a fighter. I'm a guy who fixes machines and raises kids. You jumped into a river in a storm. You stared down armed men to protect your daughter. You're sitting here designing corporate revenge instead of running for the hills. She met his eyes. You're already fighting Michael. You just don't call it that. Marcus appeared in the doorway. Ms. Reynolds, we have a situation. Sophia was on her feet instantly. What kind? Nexus just filed for an emergency injunction. They're claiming Horizon stole their research. They've got a judge issuing a temporary restraining order preventing us from any work on the Phoenix system. They're also demanding access to our servers for a forensic audit. That's insane. They can't. They've got a federal judge who disagrees. The order goes into effect in 2 hours. Marcus's expression was grim. It gets worse. They've named you personally as a defendant. You and Mr. Walsh. Michael felt his stomach drop. Me, I just got here yesterday. They're claiming you're a corporate spy. That Horizon hired you to infiltrate Preston Manufacturing and steal proprietary designs. They've got affidavits from your former supervisors saying you were acting suspicious, working late, accessing computer systems without authorization. That's garbage. I was redesigning their production line. They knew about it. They thanked me with a $50 gift card instead of proper compensation, Sophia finished, which makes you look like you had motive to steal from them. I didn't steal anything. I know. But Nexus is good at making lies look like truth. They've been doing it for months, and now they're coming after both of us. She turned to Marcus. Get legal on this immediately. I want our entire team ready to fight this injunction, and I want protection around Mr. Walsh and his daughters increased. If Nexus is willing to lie in federal court, they're willing to do worse. Already done. I've got additional security en route. Michael's phone rang. Unknown number. He almost didn't answer, but something made him pick up. Mr. Walsh. The smooth voice from yesterday. Peter Krause, the man who'd grabbed Emma. Enjoying your new job? Michael's hand tightened on the phone. You should be in jail. Should be, but I'm not. Funny how that works. See, I've got excellent lawyers, friends in useful places, and by tomorrow, I'll be back doing what I do best. A pause. Which is hurting people who get in my employer's way. If you touch my daughters, your daughters. No. I learned that lesson. Too messy, too emotional. People get irrational when you threaten their kids. Krause laughed. But you know what's just as effective destroying their future. Making sure they grow up with a father in prison. Making sure they remember that daddy went to jail for corporate espionage. For theft. For crimes he absolutely committed even if he's too stupid to realize it. I didn't commit any crimes. You accepted a job from a woman who's been systematically sabotaging Nexus Health for months. You're working on stolen research. You're conspiring to damage a legitimate medical company's reputation. Trust me, Mr. Walsh, by the time our lawyers are done, you'll wish you'd just drowned in that river. The line went dead. Michael stood frozen. Sophia was watching him with eyes that had seen this before. They're going to frame us, Michael said. They're going to try. Sophia's voice was steel. But they made one mistake. What's that? They assumed I'd roll over, that I'd settle, that I'd be scared enough to give up. She smiled, and it wasn't a nice smile. It was the smile of someone who'd stopped retreating. They don't understand that I'm my father's daughter, and my father never quit, not ever. So what do? We finish what we started. We complete both versions of the Phoenix designs. We set our trap, and we make sure that when Nexus falls, they fall hard enough to never get up. She glanced at Marcus. How long do we have before that injunction takes effect? 97 minutes. Then we work fast. Sophia turned back to her computer. Michael, I need you to finalize the manufacturing specs for the sabotage designs. Make them perfect. Make them beautiful. Make them exactly what Nexus wants to steal. And then we upload them to our compromised server. We let them think they've won. We let them steal our crown jewel. Her fingers flew across the keyboard. And we wait for them to hang themselves with the rope we just handed them. Michael sat back down at his workstation. His hands were shaking slightly. Yesterday he'd been worried about $17 and an overdue mortgage. Today he was manufacturing evidence in a corporate war that could send him to prison. But Emma's face on that video call kept flashing in his mind, the terror in her eyes. The man's hand on her shoulder. He started typing. They finished with 11 minutes to spare. The fake designs were perfect. Technically, sound enough to pass initial review. Flawed enough to fail catastrophically in extended testing. Booby-trapped with forensic watermarks that would prove they came from Horizon's servers. Done, Sophia said. Uploading now to the compromised database. Michael watched the progress bar creep across the screen. What if they don't take the bait? They'll take it. They're desperate. They've already committed murder and kidnapping. Stealing research is nothing compared to that. The upload completed. Sophia sat back. Now we wait. How long? Not long. If I know Nexus, they're monitoring our systems constantly. They'll see the new files. They'll grab them within hours, maybe less. Marcus's phone buzzed. He answered, listened, his expression darkening. Understood. Yes, sir. Right away. He looked at Sophia. The FBI is here. They've got a warrant. They want access to all our servers, all our research, and they want to interview you both. Now. Sophia stood slowly. So it begins. Should I call a lawyer? Michael asked. I've got a dozen on retainer. They're already on their way. She straightened her jacket, became the CEO again. All business, all control. Remember, Michael, we haven't done anything wrong. We're the victims here. We're the ones who were hacked, who were attacked, whose research was stolen. But we just uploaded fake designs. We uploaded our own research to our own servers. That's not a crime. What happens to that research after someone steals it? Not our problem. She headed for the door. Stay calm. Tell the truth. Don't volunteer anything they don't ask. And trust me. That's a lot of trust for someone I met yesterday. Sophia paused at the doorway, looked back. You jumped into a river for someone you didn't know. I'm asking for less than that. She was gone before Michael could respond. Marcus gestured toward the hallway. Sir, if you'll come with me. And don't worry about your daughters. My team has them in a secure location. They're safe. They're having lunch. They don't know anything's wrong. Michael followed him through corridors that suddenly felt like they were closing in. FBI. Warrants. Federal charges. This was so far beyond his life, he couldn't even process it. His phone buzzed. Text from Sophia. Whatever happens next, don't panic. We've planned for this. Trust the plan. Michael wanted to text back, wanted to ask what plan, wanted to demand answers, but agents in dark suits were already waiting in the conference room. Badges out, recording devices ready. And somewhere in Nexus Health's headquarters, hackers were downloading the poisoned research that would either save them all or destroy them completely. Michael took a breath, said a prayer for his daughters, and walked into the room where his future would be decided. The war had started, and he was right in the middle of it, whether he was ready or not. The FBI agent across from Michael had eyes like a shark, cold, patient, waiting for blood in the water. Mr. Walsh, let me make sure I understand your timeline correctly. You were employed at Preston Manufacturing for 7 years, made $32,000 annually. 3 months ago, you suddenly started accessing computer systems outside your normal duties. Last week, you contacted Horizon Technologies. 2 days ago, you saved CEO Sophia Reynolds from what you claim was an accident. Yesterday, you accepted a position at Horizon paying $75,000. Today you're working on the exact same medical technology that Nexus Health claims was stolen from their research division. Agent Morrison leaned forward. That's quite a coincidence. It's not a coincidence, it's a setup. Michael kept his voice steady, even though his heart was hammering. I was redesigning production systems at Preston. My supervisor approved it. I have emails, documentation, everything. We've seen the emails. They're vague. Could be interpreted multiple ways. Morrison slid a folder across the table. What we also found is interesting. Your bank account. $17 2 days ago. $10,000 today. Care to explain that sudden windfall? Signing bonus? It's in the contract. A signing bonus equivalent to almost a third of your annual salary for an operations coordinator position. Morrison's expression said he didn't believe a word. Mr. Walsh, we've investigated hundreds of corporate espionage cases. The pattern is always the same. Low-level employee with financial problems, sudden contact with competitor, suspicious payments, and then the theft. I haven't stolen anything. Not yet, maybe. But you're working on classified research right now. Research that Nexus Health developed over 15 years. Research that Horizon somehow acquired. Morrison opened another folder. We have testimony from 3 Nexus engineers stating that core components of Horizon's Phoenix system are identical to designs they created. Patent applications that predate Horizon's by 18 months. Lab notes, prototypes, everything pointing to Horizon stealing from Nexus, not the other way around. Michael felt the floor tilt under him. That's impossible. Sophia's father created the Phoenix system. It's been his project for 15 years. Yes, that's the story. Morrison pulled out photographs, technical drawings, side-by-side comparisons. But these documents tell a different story. They show Nexus developing portable dialysis technology in 2008. They show Horizon filing similar patents in 2010. They show a pattern of theft that predates even you. Then the documents are fake. Federal investigators don't base warrants on fake documents, Mr. Walsh. Morrison sat back. Here's what I think happened. I think Sophia Reynolds inherited a failing company from her father. I think she was desperate. I think she made a deal with someone at Nexus to steal their research. And I think she needed a patsy. Someone clean. Someone sympathetic. Someone who jumped into rivers and saved lives and looked like a hero instead of a corporate spy. The words hit Michael like physical blows. You're wrong. Am I? Because from where I'm sitting, you're a single father with crushing debt who suddenly got offered a fairy tale job after coincidentally saving the CEO's life. That's not heroism, Mr. Walsh. That's recruitment. Morrison leaned in close. And if you're smart, you'll cooperate now before this gets worse. Tell us what Sophia Reynolds asked you to do. Tell us what research she showed you. Tell us what she's planning. Help us, and maybe we can help you. Keep your daughters out of this. Keep yourself out of prison. Michael's throat was dry. I want a lawyer. You've got 3 of them in the next room. Horizon's legal team. Very expensive. Very good at protecting the company. Morrison's smile was thin. But who's protecting you? Because I promise you, when this falls apart, Sophia Reynolds will throw you under the bus so fast you won't see it coming. Rich people always do. They sacrifice the little guy to save themselves. The door opened. A woman in an immaculate suit stepped in, her expression all business. Agent Morrison, this interview is over. My client has invoked his right to counsel. Your client is obstructing a federal investigation. My client is exercising his constitutional rights. If you have charges to file, file them. Otherwise, we're done here. She gestured to Michael. Mr. Walsh, let's go. Michael stood on shaking legs. Morrison watched him with those shark eyes. You're making a mistake, the agent said. Loyalty to Sophia Reynolds will cost you everything. Michael followed the lawyer out. His mind was spinning. The documents Morrison had shown him looked real. The timeline matched. The technical drawings were nearly identical. What if he'd been wrong? What if Sophia really was using him? The lawyer who introduced herself as Jennifer Chen led him to a conference room where Sophia waited with two other attorneys. She looked calm, but Michael could see the tension in her shoulders. "What did they ask you?" Sophia said immediately. "Everything. My timeline, the money, the research. They've got documents showing Nexus developed the Phoenix system first. Patents, lab notes, everything." Michael's voice was harder than he intended. "They made a pretty convincing case that you're the thief, not them." Sophia didn't flinch. "Of course they did. Because Nexus has been planning this for months. They've been creating a false paper trail, backdating patents, forging lab notes, building a narrative that makes them look like the victims." "How do you know?" "Because I've been investigating them just as hard as they've been investigating me. Because I've got my own documents, my own evidence, and because," she pulled out a tablet, called up a video file, "I've got this." The video showed an office, expensive furniture, windows overlooking a city. Two men talking, their voices caught on what must have been a hidden microphone. "The Reynolds girl is getting too close." The first man was older, gray hair, expensive suit. "She's found the payment to Kraus. She's tracing the shell companies." "Then we accelerate the timeline." The second man was younger, sharper. "We've got enough forged documentation to bury her in court. We file the injunction, get the FBI involved, make her look like the criminal while we position ourselves as the victims." "What about the father's death?" "What about it? Coroner ruled it natural causes. Case closed. No investigation. Clean." The younger man smiled. "And if Sophia keeps pushing, maybe she has a heart attack too. Grief does terrible things to people." The video ended. Michael stared at the frozen image. "Who are they?" "David Whitfield, CEO of Nexus Health, and Marcus Reeves, their head of legal." Sophia's voice was ice. "This was recorded 3 weeks ago in Whitfield's office. I had someone plant a listening device during a routine IT maintenance call. That's illegal. So is murder. So is corporate espionage. So is kidnapping my operations coordinator's daughter off a school bus." Sophia set the tablet down. "I'm not playing by rules they've already broken. I'm fighting fire with fire." Jennifer Chen cleared her throat. "For the record, I strongly advised against illegal surveillance. But what's done is done. The question now is how we use this without incriminating ourselves." "We don't use it. Not yet." Sophia turned to Michael. "Did they offer you a deal?" "Yeah. Cooperate. Tell them everything. Get immunity." And I told them I wanted a lawyer." Michael met her eyes. "But I need you to be straight with me. Did you steal their research?" "Any of it, because those documents Morrison showed me looked real." "They are real. They're also complete fabrications." Sophia pulled up files on her laptop. "Here's what actually happened. My father developed the Phoenix system starting in 2009. He filed provisional patents in 2010. He partnered with hospitals for trials in 2012. Everything documented, everything legitimate." She pulled up more files. In 2015, Nexus approached him with an acquisition offer. $500 million. He turned them down. In 2016, they offered $1 billion. He turned them down again. In 2017, 3 of our senior engineers suddenly quit and went to work for Nexus. 3 months later, Nexus filed patents for technology remarkably similar to ours. "They stole from you." "They tried, but my father had been careful. He'd kept the core technology secret, compartmentalized the research. Those 3 engineers knew pieces, not the whole system. So Nexus got close, but not close enough." She pulled up more documents. "Which is when they got creative. They started backdating their research, creating lab notes from years before, forging patent applications, building a paper trail that made it look like they'd been working on this all along and we'd stolen from them." Michael's head was pounding. "How do you prove which documents are real? Forensic analysis, digital signatures, metadata, all the technical stuff that takes months to sort out in court, which is exactly what Nexus wants. They want us tied up in legal battles, want us bleeding money on lawyers, want us too distracted to release the Phoenix system. Sophia's jaw tightened, and they're willing to frame both of us to make it happen. So what do? We prove they're liars. We prove they stole from us. We prove they murdered my father, and we do it all before they can destroy us. She looked at Jennifer. How long do we have? The injunction hearing is in 72 hours. If the judge rules in their favor, all work on Phoenix stops. All research gets locked down. Nexus gets access to our servers for their forensic audit, which really means they get to copy everything we have. Jennifer's expression was grim. And if they find what they're looking for, federal charges follow. For both of you. Then we need to move fast. Sophia turned to Michael. Did you finish the sabotaged designs? Yeah, they're uploaded to the compromised server. Good. Now we need to make sure Nexus actually steals them. We need proof of the theft, evidence that will hold up in court. She pulled up a screen showing network traffic. Marcus's cyber team has been monitoring the compromised server since we uploaded the files. No activity yet. Nexus hasn't taken the bait. Maybe they're being cautious. Or maybe they already have someone inside Horizon feeding them information. Sophia's eyes darkened. Which means we need to flush them out. How? By making them desperate. By forcing their hand. She started pacing. We're going to announce that we're releasing the Phoenix system early. Full open source, free to manufacture, available to anyone who needs it. We'll schedule a press conference for tomorrow morning. Jennifer looked alarmed. Sophia, that's premature. We're not actually releasing it, we're just announcing it. Making Nexus think we're about to go public with technology they've spent months trying to steal. Sophia's smile was sharp. They'll panic. They'll need to either stop us or steal the final designs before we release them. Either way, they'll make a move. And when they do, we'll catch them. Michael saw the logic, but also the risk. What if they come after us, after my daughters? Marcus's team is already doubling security. Your daughters won't be out of sight for a second, neither will you. Sophia stopped pacing, faced him directly. I know this is insane. I know it's dangerous. If you want out, I'll understand. I'll pay for security until this is over. I'll make sure you and your girls are safe. But I can't promise you won't get dragged through court. Nexus has already named you as a co-defendant. So, I'm in this whether I want to be or not. Yes. But you can choose how deep you go. You can cooperate with the FBI. Turn on me. Maybe cut a deal. Her voice softened. Or you can trust that I'm telling the truth. That my father was a good man who died for trying to help people. That I'm fighting to finish what he started. And that together, we can actually win this. Michael thought about Emma's face on that video call. Thought about Agent Morrison's cold eyes. Thought about David Whitfield and Marcus Reeves discussing murder like it was a business decision. I'm in, he said. But not because of trust. Because those bastards threatened my daughters. And I want to watch them burn. Sophia's expression shifted. Respect, maybe. Or recognition. Good. Because we're about to declare war. They spent the next 4 hours preparing. Sophia drafted a press release announcing the early release of the Phoenix system. Jennifer and her team prepared legal documentation. Marcus coordinated security protocols, and Michael worked with Sophia's engineering team to finalize both versions of the designs, the real one they'd eventually release, and the sabotaged one they were hoping Nexus would steal. At 6 p.m., Sophia hit send on the press release. Within minutes, it was everywhere. Tech blogs, medical journals, financial news. The announcement was explosive. Horizon Technologies to release life-saving dialysis system as free open-source technology. Michael watched the reactions flood in on social media. Praise, skepticism. And from Nexus Health's stock ticker panic. Their shares dropped 7% in after-hours trading. They're feeling it, Sophia said, watching the same screen. Now we wait for them to respond. The response came at 7:23 p.m. Michael's phone rang. Unknown number. He answered on speaker so Sophia and Marcus could hear. Mr. Walsh. David Whitfield's voice was smooth as oil. I'm calling to make you an offer. I'm not interested. You should be, because I'm offering you a way out of this mess. A way to protect your daughters. A way to avoid federal prison. Whitfield paused. I'm offering you $5 million to walk away. To testify that Sophia Reynolds recruited you to steal research from Preston Manufacturing, to confirm that Horizon's Phoenix system was developed using stolen Nexus technology. You want me to lie. I want you to tell the truth. The truth that Sophia Reynolds is a desperate woman who's been stealing from my company for years. The truth that her father was a con artist who built his reputation on other people's work. The truth that you're being used as a pawn in a game you don't understand. Michael looked at Sophia. Her face was stone. And if I don't take your offer, then you go to prison. You lose your daughters. They go into foster care while you serve 5 to 10 years for corporate espionage. And when you get out, you'll have nothing. No job, no money, no future. Whitfield's voice hardened. But if you're smart, if you take this deal, you walk away rich. Your daughters get college funds. You get a fresh start somewhere far from here. All you have to do is tell the truth about Sophia Reynolds. Here's the truth, Michael said. You tried to kill her. You murdered her father. You had your thug grab my daughter off a school bus, so here's my counteroffer, go to hell. He hung up. Sophia was staring at him. You just turned down $5 million. Yeah, I did. Why? Because some things matter more than money, like not being the kind of man who sells out to murderers. Michael's hands were shaking with adrenaline. And because I watched my ex-wife trade integrity for comfort when she left me for a guy with money. I'm not doing that. Not for $5 million. Not for any amount. Marcus's phone buzzed. He answered, listened, his expression darkening. Understood. Lock it down. Nobody in or out without my authorization. He looked at Sophia. We've got movement on the compromised server. Someone's accessing the Phoenix files right now. Nexus. The IP address routes through the same server chain we've tracked them using before. It's them. They're downloading the sabotage designs. Marcus pulled up his laptop, showed them the network activity. They're taking everything, every file, every specification. Sophia's smile was triumphant. We've got them. They're stealing our research in real time. Every byte is being logged, documented, traced. Can we prove it's actually Nexus? Michael asked. We can prove it's the same network that's been attacking us for months. We can prove the files are being sent to servers registered to Nexus subsidiaries. We can prove. Marcus stopped. Wait, something's wrong. What? They're not just downloading the Phoenix files. They're accessing everything. Personnel records, financial data, security protocols. Marcus's fingers flew across the keyboard. This isn't just theft. This is infiltration. They're mapping our entire network. Can you stop them? Not without tipping our hand that we know they're there. If we block them now, we lose our evidence of the theft. Marcus looked at Sophia. But if we let them keep going, they'll have access to everything, including the real Phoenix designs. Sophia was quiet for 3 seconds. Michael could see her mind working, calculating odds, weighing options. Let them in, she said finally. Sophia, let them think they've won. Let them download everything. Because the real Phoenix designs aren't on that server. She pulled out a thumb drive from her pocket. They're here, and they've never been anywhere else. Everything on our network is deliberate misinformation. Everything they're stealing is exactly what we want them to have. Marcus stared at her. You've been planning this. Since the day my father died. Since the day I realized someone had murdered him and was coming for me next. I've been building a trap, baiting it, waiting for them to walk in. She handed the thumb drive to Michael. The real designs. 17 years of my father's work. The only copy that matters. I'm trusting you with it. Michael took the drive. It was surprisingly light for something worth so much. Why me? Because you jumped in the river. Because you turned down $5 million. Because I need someone I can trust. And trust is built in moments of crisis. She looked at Marcus. How long until they finish downloading? At current rate 20 minutes. Then in 21 minutes, we crash the server. Make it look like a system failure. Let them think they got everything before we realized what was happening. Sophia turned to Jennifer. Draft a statement. Horizon Technologies was the victim of a sophisticated cyber attack. We're cooperating fully with federal investigators. We demand justice. All very official. Very corporate. And then, Jennifer asked. And then we go to the press conference tomorrow and announce we're releasing the Phoenix system anyway. We show the world what we've built. We dare Nexus to claim they built it first. Sophia's eyes were fierce. And when they try to prove their case using the stolen files, we reveal that those files are sabotaged, that they stole corrupted research, that they're frauds and thieves and murderers. That's a huge risk, Jennifer said. If anything goes wrong, everything's already gone wrong. My father's dead. Michael's daughters were threatened. The FBI thinks we're criminals. We're past the point of playing it safe. Sophia looked at each of them. Tomorrow we end this, one way or another. The next 18 hours were a blur. Michael barely slept, too wired on adrenaline and fear. He checked on Emma and Sarah a dozen times, watched them sleep in their secure room surrounded by Marcus's team. They were safe, for now. At 6 a.m., Sophia's legal team delivered devastating news. A second judge had ruled that the press conference constituted violation of the injunction. Horizon was forbidden from releasing any information about the Phoenix system pending the full hearing. They blocked us, Jennifer said. We can't do the press conference. If we do, you'll both be in contempt of court. Sophia was silent for a long moment. Then she smiled. Then we won't do a press conference. We'll do something better. She picked up her phone, made a call. Dr. Okonkwo, it's Sophia Reynolds. I need your help. Are you still interested in that project we discussed? Michael had no idea who Dr. Okonkwo was, but from Sophia's expression, it was important. Yes, I know it's fast, but we're out of time. She listened. No, the designs are complete. Everything you need. I'm sending them in the next hour. Another pause. I understand the risks. But if we don't do this now, thousands of people will die waiting for a treatment that's been ready for years. Will you help me? She hung up. Looked at Michael. Dr. Okonkwo runs a medical manufacturing facility in Nairobi. My father worked with him for 10 years. He's been waiting for the Phoenix designs so he can start producing units for East Africa. You're sending him the real designs. I'm sending him everything. The complete system. Manufacturing specifications. Clinical trial data. Everything needed to produce and distribute the Phoenix system. She pulled out her laptop. And I'm not just sending it to him. I'm sending it to 12 other partners in 9 countries. By tomorrow morning, the Phoenix system will be in production on 4 continents. Open source. Free. Exactly the way my father intended. But the injunction applies to me, to Horizon Technologies, to anyone under U.S. jurisdiction. Sophia's smile was sharp. But I can't control what international partners do with research they receive. I can't be held responsible for what happens in Nairobi or Mumbai or Sao Paulo. The injunction is about to become irrelevant. Jennifer looked horrified and impressed at the same time. You're going around the court order. I'm following my father's vision, saving lives, making medicine accessible. Sophia started typing. And if that happens to destroy Nexus Health's business model in the process, that's just a happy accident. Michael watched her work, sending encrypted files to locations around the world. This was it, the point of no return. Once those designs were out there, everything changed. His phone buzzed. Text from Agent Morrison. Last chance, Mr. Walsh. Cooperate now or face the consequences. Michael deleted the text without responding. Another buzz. This time it was a news alert. Nexus Health announces breakthrough in portable dialysis technology. Plans to begin production within 6 months. They're announcing our tech is theirs, Michael said. Perfect. Sophia didn't look up from her laptop. Let them. Let them commit to it publicly. Let them start tooling up production lines. Let them invest millions. Because in 3 days, when our international partners start producing the actual working Phoenix system, everyone will see that Nexus's version doesn't work, that they stole corrupted designs, that they're frauds. And if something goes wrong, if our partners can't produce it fast enough, then we lose. Then Nexus wins. Then my father died for nothing, and his dream dies with him. Sophia hit send on the last file. But I don't think that's going to happen. Because I believe in the work we've done. I believe in the people we've partnered with. And I believe that sometimes the only way to fight corruption is to bypass the corrupt system entirely. Her laptop pinged. Message received confirmations started rolling in. Nairobi, Mumbai, Sao Paulo, Jakarta, Mexico City. One by one, the Phoenix system was spreading across the globe. It's done, Sophia said quietly. We just changed the world. Marcus appeared in the doorway, his expression urgent. We have a problem. Big one. David Whitfield just filed an emergency motion claiming Horizon committed international theft. He's got federal marshals en route to seize all our equipment. They'll be here in 30 minutes. Let them come. Sophia stood, straightened her jacket. They won't find anything. The designs are already gone. Already in production. Already beyond their reach. They'll arrest you. Maybe, but it'll be too late. By the time they sort out the legal mess, the Phoenix system will be saving lives in a dozen countries, and Nexus will be exposed as thieves and liars. She looked at Michael. This is where it gets ugly. This is where they try to crush us with the full weight of the law. If you want to take your daughters and disappear, now's the time. I'll make sure you're protected. Michael thought about Emma and Sarah sleeping upstairs. Thought about the life he'd built before all this started. Thought about how easy it would be to walk away. Then he thought about David Whitfield's voice offering $5 million to betray the truth. Thought about Peter Krause's hand on Emma's shoulder. Thought about Sophia's father dying because he'd tried to help people. I'm staying, he said. We finish this together. Sophia nodded. Then get your daughters. Get them somewhere safe. Because when those marshals arrive, everything's going to explode. Michael ran, through corridors upstairs to the secure room where Emma and Sarah were eating breakfast with 2 of Marcus's team. He burst through the door, and both girls looked up startled. Dad, what's wrong? We need to go, right now. He started grabbing their things, shoving them into bags. Go where? Somewhere safe, somewhere away from here. He looked at the security team. Marcus said you'd have a location ready. The larger of the 2 men nodded. Safe house, 40 minutes from here. Off the grid. Fully stocked. We'll take them now. I'm coming with you. Sir Ms. Reynolds needs you here. For the legal proceedings, to back up her story. My daughters need me more. Emma grabbed his hand. Dad, we'll be okay. These guys are like superheroes, remember? They'll protect us. Emma. You have to help Ms. Sophia. She saved us. Now you have to save her. Emma's eyes were too old for 8 years. Too understanding. We'll be brave. You be brave too. Michael felt something crack in his chest. He pulled both girls into a hug so tight it probably hurt. I love you both. So much. More than anything. We love you too, Dad. Sarah's voice was muffled against his chest. Don't let the bad men win. I won't. I promise. He let them go. Watched the security team lead them out of the room. Watched his daughters walk away into protection, into hiding, into a world where their father was fighting battles they shouldn't have to understand. The door closed. Michael stood alone in the empty room, his heart breaking and hardening at the same time. Downstairs, sirens were approaching. Federal marshals, FBI, maybe police, the full weight of the law coming to crush them. But they were too late. The Phoenix system was already free. And sometimes Michael thought, as he headed back toward the storm, freedom was worth any price. Even this one. The federal marshals arrived like an invading army. 12 vehicles. 26 armed officers. Warrants that gave them authority to seize everything in Horizon Technologies down to the staplers. Michael stood beside Sophia in the main lobby, watching them pour through the doors. Jennifer Chen and her legal team formed a wall of expensive suits, but it was a symbolic gesture at best. The law had arrived, and the law wasn't interested in listening. Sophia Reynolds, the lead marshal, was a woman in her 50s, with gray hair and eyes that had seen everything twice. "I'm Marshal Diane Chen. I have a warrant for your arrest on charges of corporate espionage, theft of intellectual property, and conspiracy to defraud. You have the right to remain silent." Sophia didn't move. "On whose complaint?" "Nexus Health Corporation. Signed by Federal Judge Matthews 30 minutes ago." Marshal Chen held out handcuffs. "We can do this easy or hard, Ms. Reynolds. Your choice." "Do you know what Nexus Health does, Marshal? They run dialysis centers. They charge $90,000 a year to keep kidney patients alive. They profit from suffering. And when my father developed technology that would have made their business model obsolete, they murdered him." Sophia's voice was steady, clear, projecting across the lobby where Horizon employees had gathered to watch. "So yes, I fought back. Yes, I worked to expose them. And yes, I just released my father's technology to the world for free. If that's a crime, then I'm guilty." "Save it for the judge." Marshal Chen stepped forward with the cuffs. "Wait." Michael heard his own voice before he decided to speak. "You've got a warrant for me too, right?" Marshal Chen glanced at a deputy who pulled out a second warrant. "Michael Walsh, same charges. You're both coming in." "Then arrest us together. Let everyone see. Let the media see. Let the world see what happens when you try to give away life-saving technology." Michael moved to stand beside Sophia. "We're not criminals. We're the only honest people in this whole mess." Marshal Chen's expression flickered. Respect, maybe, or pity. "Son, I don't write the warrants. I just execute them. And right now, you're both under arrest." The handcuffs went on cold and tight. Michael had never been arrested before. Never even gotten a speeding ticket. The metal bit into his wrists, and he felt a surge of panic thinking about Emma and Sarah, hoping Marcus's team had gotten them far away from here. They were led out through the lobby past dozens of Horizon employees who'd stopped work to watch. Some were crying. Others looked angry. One woman, an engineer Michael had worked with yesterday, shouted, "We believe you," as they passed. Outside, the media had gathered like sharks to blood. Cameras everywhere, reporters shouting questions. Michael squinted against the flash of lights and saw exactly what Sophia had orchestrated. This wasn't just an arrest. It was a spectacle. A public execution designed to destroy her credibility. But it was also a broadcast. Every major network was here, every tech blog, every financial news outlet. And they were all recording Sophia Reynolds being arrested for trying to give away medical technology. "Ms. Reynolds, is it true you stole from Nexus Health?" "Ms. Reynolds, why did you release classified research?" "Ms. Reynolds, do you have any comment on the charges?" Sophia stopped walking. The marshals tried to move her forward, but she planted her feet and turned to face the cameras. "My father, Dr. James Reynolds, spent 17 years developing the Phoenix system. Portable dialysis technology that costs $300 to manufacture instead of $90,000 a year to operate. Technology that could save millions of lives. 3 months after he refused to sell that technology to Nexus Health, he died of a sudden heart attack. Today I released his research to medical facilities in 12 countries. By tomorrow, patients who couldn't afford treatment will start receiving it for free. If that's a crime, then this country has lost its soul. Move." Marshal Chen's voice was firm, but not unkind. "Now, Ms. Reynolds." They were loaded into separate vehicles. Michael caught one last glimpse of Sophia through the window as his transport pulled away. She looked small in handcuffs, but somehow still fierce. Still fighting. The federal holding facility was exactly as depressing as Michael had imagined. Gray walls, fluorescent lights, the smell of industrial cleaner and desperation. They processed him efficiently. Fingerprints, photos, personal effects sealed in a bag. Then a cell with a metal bench and a toilet and nothing else. Michael sat on the bench and tried not to think about his daughters. Tried not to imagine Emma's face when she found out her father was in jail. Tried not to calculate how long this could take, how much it would cost, how completely his life had been destroyed in 48 hours. His cellmate was a guy in his 30s with tired eyes and a defeated posture. What are you in for? Corporate espionage, apparently. Damn, that's federal. You're looking at real time. I didn't do it. The guy laughed without humor. Nobody in here did it, man. We're all innocent. Michael didn't have the energy to argue. He closed his eyes and tried to find some calm in the chaos. Tried to remember why he'd jumped in that river, why he'd trusted Sophia, why he'd turned down $5 million. Because it was right. Because some things mattered more than safety, or money, or comfort. Because Emma had said, "Don't let the bad men win," and he'd promised her he wouldn't. A guard appeared at the cell. "Walsh, your lawyer's here." Michael was led to a consultation room where Jennifer Chen waited with 2 associates and a laptop covered in legal documents. "How bad is it?" Michael asked. "Bad. The charges are serious. Federal prosecutors are pushing hard. They've got Nexus's forged documentation. They've got your financial records showing the sudden payment from Horizon. They've got testimony from your former supervisor at Preston saying you acted suspicious." Jennifer pulled up files on her laptop. "And they've got Agent Morrison, who's convinced you're part of a conspiracy to defraud Nexus Health of billions in potential revenue. But we didn't do anything wrong." Legally, that's debatable. Sophia did release classified research that was under court injunction. You did work on that research knowing it was part of a legal dispute. And you both refused to cooperate with federal investigators. Jennifer's expression was sympathetic, but realistic. Morally, you're in the right. Legally, you're in serious trouble. What about the evidence of Nexus stealing our research, the downloads from the compromised server? We have that. But Nexus claims it was a security test, that they were checking their own systems for vulnerabilities and happened to access what they thought were their files. Jennifer shook her head. It's thin. Everything's thin. This whole case is going to come down to who the jury believes. And if they believe Nexus, 5 to 10 years for both of you. Michael felt the walls closing in. My daughters, I need to know they're safe. Marcus has them at a secure location. They're fine. Scared, but safe. Jennifer pulled up another document. Here's what we're looking at. Arraignment tomorrow morning. Bail hearing immediately after. The prosecutor is going to argue you're both flight risks, given that you just sent classified research to 12 foreign countries. We weren't trying to flee. We were trying to save lives. I know, but that's not how the prosecutor sees it. Jennifer leaned forward. Michael, I need you to be honest with me. Is there anything you haven't told us? Anything that could hurt our case? Any contact with Nexus? Any money beyond the signing bonus? Anything? No. Nothing. I swear. Good. Because they're going to dig into every second of your life. Every phone call. Every text. Every transaction. And if they find anything that contradicts your story, even something small, they'll use it to destroy your credibility. Michael thought about the unknown numbers that had called him. Peter Krause. David Whitfield. They called me. Nexus. They tried to bribe me. $5 million to testify against Sophia. Jennifer's eyes sharpened. Do you still have those calls in your phone records? Should be. I didn't delete anything. That's good. That's actually very good. It establishes that Nexus was trying to intimidate you, trying to flip you. She made notes. We can use that. Show that they're the ones acting guilty, the ones trying to buy testimony. A knock on the door. A different guard. Ma'am, I need to take him back. 2 more minutes, please. The guard nodded and stepped back. Jennifer looked at Michael with an intensity that made him uncomfortable. Here's the reality. Sophia's going to fight this with everything she has. She's got resources, connections, media support. She's a sympathetic defendant. Brilliant CEO trying to honor her dead father's legacy. But you... She paused. You're the weak link. Single father, financial troubles, no history in this industry. You're exactly the kind of person prosecutors love to pressure, offer you a deal, turn you against Sophia, use you to bury her. I'm not turning on her. Even if it means losing your daughters, even if child services gets involved, even if Emma and Sarah end up in foster care while you're in prison. The words hit like bullets. Michael hadn't even considered that possibility, that the state could take his girls, that they could be placed with strangers, that he could lose them forever. They wouldn't do that. They absolutely would. You'd be a convicted felon, single parent, no family support system. Your ex-wife is in California with a new family. She could petition for full custody, argue that you're unfit, that you endangered your children by getting involved in corporate espionage. Jennifer's voice softened. I'm not trying to scare you. I'm trying to prepare you for what's coming. Because Nexus is going to use every weapon they have, and your daughters are their biggest leverage. Michael felt sick. What do I do? You trust the process. You trust our legal team, and you pray that the truth comes out before it's too late. Jennifer started packing up her laptop. The arraignment is at 9 a.m. Try to get some sleep. Tomorrow's going to be brutal. Back in the cell, Michael's cellmate was snoring on the lower bench. Michael climbed onto the upper one, stared at the ceiling, and tried not to spiral into panic. Emma and Sarah were safe. Marcus would protect them. Sophia wouldn't let anything happen to them. But what if he went to prison? What if he lost custody? What if his one moment of heroism cost him everything that mattered, his phone records? The calls from Krause and Whitfield. That was something. That was evidence of Nexus's guilt. Jennifer had seemed genuinely excited about it. Maybe that would be enough. He must have slept eventually, because the next thing he knew, guards were banging on cell bars and calling for morning count. 6 a.m. 3 hours until arraignment. Michael's stomach was twisted in knots, but they brought breakfast anyway. Cold eggs and toast that tasted like cardboard. He forced it down because who knew when he'd eat again. At 8:30, they brought him a suit. One of Jennifer's associates had dropped it off. Better than appearing in court in a jumpsuit. Michael changed, tried to make himself look like someone respectable, someone who wasn't a criminal, someone a judge might actually believe. The courthouse was a zoo. More media than yesterday. Protesters, too, Michael realized. Some holding signs supporting Sophia. Free medical care is not a crime. Nexus murders, Horizon saves lives. Others supporting Nexus. Stop corporate theft. Protect American innovation. Inside the courtroom was packed. Michael was led to a table beside Sophia, who looked exhausted but composed in a gray suit. Jennifer and her team surrounded them with files and laptops and the armor of expensive legal representation. The prosecutor was a man in his 40s with steel-rimmed glasses and the expression of someone who'd never lost a case he cared about. He laid out his documents with the precision of a surgeon preparing for an operation. All rise. The Honorable Judge Patricia Hartman presiding. Everyone stood. Judge Hartman entered a black woman in her 60s with an expression that gave away nothing. She sat, gestured for everyone else to sit, and looked directly at Sophia and Michael. This is an arraignment, not a trial. We're here to enter pleas and discuss bail. Let's keep it simple. She glanced at the prosecutor. Mr. Davidson, your charges. Davidson stood. Your Honor. The United States charges Sophia Reynolds and Michael Walsh with conspiracy to commit corporate espionage, theft of trade secrets valued at over $5 million, and violation of federal court injunction. These are serious crimes with mandatory minimums of 5 years per count. Ms. Reynolds, how do you plead? Sophia stood. Not guilty, Your Honor. Mr. Walsh. Michael stood on shaking legs. Not guilty. Noted. Now let's discuss bail. Judge Hartman looked at Davidson. What's your position? The government requests both defendants be held without bail. They've proven themselves flight risks by distributing classified research to 12 foreign countries. They have international connections and resources to flee prosecution. Ms. Reynolds alone is worth an estimated $300 million. Jennifer stood. Your Honor, that's absurd. My clients aren't flight risks. They're humanitarians who released life-saving medical technology. Ms. Reynolds has lived in this community her entire life. Mr. Walsh is a single father of 2 young daughters. Neither has any criminal record. Neither has any reason to flee. Except the 5 to 10 years in prison they're facing. Davidson shot back. Your Honor, these defendants knew exactly what they were doing. They deliberately violated a court order. They sent classified information outside U.S. jurisdiction specifically to avoid legal consequences. That's not humanitarian work. That's calculated criminal behavior. Judge Hartman was quiet for a moment. Ms. Chen, your clients did violate my colleague's injunction. That's not disputed, correct? Your Honor, the injunction was improper. It was based on fraudulent documentation provided by Nexus Health. We have evidence that Nexus... Save it for trial. Right now I'm deciding on bail. Judge Hartman looked at Sophia. Ms. Reynolds, did you knowingly release research that was under court protection? I released my father's life's work to save lives, Your Honor. Work that Nexus Health has been trying to steal and suppress for years. That's not what I asked. Did you knowingly violate the injunction? Sophia was silent for 3 seconds. Michael could see her weighing options, calculating consequences. Yes, Your Honor, I did. The courtroom erupted. The judge's gavel came down hard. Order, I will have order, or I'll clear this room. The noise died down. Judge Hartman looked at Sophia with an expression that might have been respect or might have been anger. Hard to tell. Ms. Reynolds, I appreciate your honesty, if not your judgment. Here's my ruling. Bail is set at $5 million each, cash or bond. You'll both surrender your passports. You'll be fitted with GPS monitors. You'll have no contact with any of the international facilities you sent research to. And if you violate any of these conditions even slightly, I'll revoke bail, and you'll sit in jail until trial. Understood? Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Walsh? Yes, Your Honor. Good. Arraignment complete. Trial date will be set within 60 days. We're adjourned. The gavel came down. Michael felt dizzy. $5 million bail. GPS monitors. 2 months until trial. It was better than no bail, but barely. Can you make bail? He asked Sophia as they were let out. Yes, can you? I've got $17 in my checking account, and you just paid me $10,000, so no, not even close. I'll cover it. That's $10 million total. You don't have to. Michael, you turned down $5 million to betray me. I can spend $2 million to keep you out of jail. She said it like it was obvious. Like money meant nothing compared to loyalty. They were processed out by noon. GPS ankle monitors fitted and activated. Passports surrendered. Stern warnings from the marshal about the consequences of violation. Then they walked out into sunlight that felt surreal after a night in a cell. Marcus was waiting with a car. Your daughters are asking for you. Take me to them. Now. The safe house was 40 minutes outside the city, hidden at the end of a dirt road in woods that seemed to go on forever. 2 of Marcus's team stood guard outside. More inside, probably. The kind of security that should have made Michael feel safe, but instead reminded him how much danger they were in. Emma and Sarah ran to him the second he walked through the door. He caught them both, held them tight, breathed them in. "Daddy, are you okay? They said you were in jail." "I'm fine. I'm here. Everything's okay." "Is Ms. Sophia okay?" "She's fine too. We're all fine." Sarah pulled back to look at his ankle. "What's that?" "It's a monitor, so the court knows where I am." "Like a tracking device?" "Yeah, baby, exactly like that." "Cool." Sarah's fear had already transformed into curiosity. 6 years old and resilient in ways that broke Michael's heart. Emma was quieter. "Are we going to lose you?" "No. Never. I promise." "You promised Mom would stay too." The words hit harder than any legal brief. Michael knelt down to Emma's level. "Your mom made her own choices. Choices I couldn't control. But this is different. I'm fighting for us. Fighting to keep us together. And I'm not going to lose. But what if you do? Then I'll fight harder. I'll appeal. I'll do whatever it takes. Because you and Sarah are my whole world. Nothing else matters." He pulled her close. "You have to trust me." "I'm scared." "I know. I'm scared too. But we're going to get through this." Sophia appeared in the doorway. "Michael, I need to show you something." He followed her to a room set up as a command center. Laptops, monitors, maps on the walls. Marcus was there, along with 2 people Michael didn't recognize. "These are our forensic analysts," Sophia said. "They've been tracing the network intrusion, the theft of our Phoenix files. And they found something." One of the analysts, a woman with purple hair and intense eyes, pulled up data on a screen. The downloads came from Nexus's network, but they weren't done by Nexus employees. They were done by an outside contractor. Same IP signature as the hack that killed your father's research 6 months ago. Same digital fingerprint on the listening devices planted in Michael's house. "Who?" Sophia's voice was tight. "Peter Krause. He's not just muscle. He's a cyber specialist. Former NSA. Went private 5 years ago. Nexus has paid him over $2 million in the last year for security consulting." The analyst pulled up financial records. But here's the interesting part. Krause has been sloppy. He's been using the same cryptocurrency wallet for all his transactions. And that wallet has payments from 3 other companies. All Nexus subsidiaries, all routed through shell corporations, all totaling over $8 million. Michael leaned forward. "Can you prove it?" "We can prove Krause stole our research. We can prove he planted devices in your house. We can prove he's been working for Nexus. What we can't prove yet is the murder, the connection between Krause and Dr. Reynolds' death." "But if we can," Sophia said quietly, "if we can connect those dots, we've got them. Murder, conspiracy, federal crimes that make our charges look like parking tickets." Marcus spoke up. "We've got people looking into it. But we need time. The trial's in 60 days. That's not enough." "Then we buy more time." Sophia turned to Jennifer, who'd arrived during the conversation. "Can we delay the trial?" "Maybe, but the prosecution will fight it. They want this done fast before public opinion turns against them completely." Jennifer pulled up her phone, showed them social media. "The Phoenix system is already being manufactured in Kenya and India. First patients received treatment this morning. The media coverage is overwhelmingly positive. Nexus's stock is down 18%. Their CEO is being called before Congress to explain why they opposed life-saving technology." "Good. Let them squirm." Sophia's expression was fierce. "But we need that murder connection. Without it, this is just corporate warfare. With it, it's justice." The purple-haired analyst cleared her throat. "There might be one way. Krause is careful, but he's not perfect. 6 months ago, right around when Dr. Reynolds died, Krause rented a storage unit in Baltimore. Paid cash. Used a fake name. But we've got him on security footage." "What's in the unit?" Don't know yet, but Marcus's team is getting a warrant. How we don't have law enforcement on our side. We do now. Marcus pulled up an email. Agent Morrison saw the arraignment, saw the media coverage, saw the Phoenix system saving lives overseas. He's having doubts about the case. Not enough to drop it, but enough to look into Nexus more carefully. He's the one getting the warrant. Michael felt a surge of hope. If there's evidence in that storage unit, then we've got them. Sophia finished. Then we turn this whole thing around. The next 3 days were the longest of Michael's life. Waiting for the warrant, waiting for the search, waiting to see if the gamble would pay off. He stayed at the safe house with his daughters, played board games and watched movies, and tried to pretend everything was normal. On the 4th day, Marcus's phone rang. He answered, listened, his expression shifting from neutral to something that might have been satisfaction. They found it, the storage unit, equipment used for the hack, Krause's personal files, and... Marcus paused. Medical records. Dr. Reynolds' medical records, showing he was healthy, showing his heart was fine, and a vial, empty but labeled. Potassium chloride, undetectable in autopsy but causes instant cardiac arrest. Sophia's face went white. They murdered him. They actually murdered him. They murdered him and Krause kept the evidence. Probably as insurance. Leverage against Nexus in case they turned on him. Marcus set down his phone. FBI is moving now. Warrants for David Whitfield, Marcus Reeves, and Peter Krause. Federal murder charges. Conspiracy. The works. What about our charges? Agent Morrison just called the prosecutor. Recommended immediate dismissal. Said new evidence suggests you were the victims, not the perpetrators. Marcus almost smiled. It's over. You won. Michael couldn't process it. Over just like that? Not just like that. You fought for it. Both of you. Jumped into rivers and turned down bribes and released technology that's already saved lives. You earned this. Marcus looked at Sophia. Your father would be proud. Sophia was crying. Actually crying. Silent tears running down her face while she tried to maintain composure. He's been dead 6 months and I couldn't prove it. Couldn't get anyone to believe me. Couldn't. Michael put a hand on her shoulder. You did it. You proved it. And now they're going to pay. The arrest of David Whitfield happened live on television. FBI agents storming into Nexus Health's headquarters. The CEO in handcuffs. The perp walk that would define his legacy forever. Peter Krause was arrested in an airport trying to flee to Brazil. Marcus Reeves was arrested at his home. All 3 charged with first-degree murder, conspiracy, corporate espionage, and about 17 other federal crimes. The charges against Sophia and Michael were formally dismissed 2 days later. The prosecutor apologized in open court. Judge Hartman made a statement about the importance of questioning assumptions and following evidence wherever it leads. And the Phoenix system kept spreading. 30 countries now. Thousands of patients. Lives being saved every day with technology that Nexus had tried to suppress and Sophia's father had died to protect. Michael stood with his daughters on the steps of Horizon Technologies watching the sun set over the campus. Emma held his left hand. Sarah held his right. Sophia stood beside them, no longer a CEO under siege, but a woman who'd won a war she'd never wanted to fight. What happens now? Emma asked. Now we go home, Michael said. Real home. Not a safe house. Our own place. Do we still get to work here? Michael looked at Sophia, who smiled. Your dad has a job here for as long as he wants it. And so do both of you when you're old enough. We're going to need good engineers to keep the Phoenix system running. I want to be an engineer like Grandpa Reynolds, Sarah said. I want to be a CEO like you, Emma said. Sophia laughed. Then you'll both need to study hard. Work hard. Never give up even when things look impossible. She looked at Michael. Sound familiar? Yeah, it does. Michael squeezed his daughter's hands. You ready to go home? Yeah. But Dad... Emma looked up at him. I'm glad you jumped in that river. Yeah, yeah, because now we know Ms. Sophia, and we helped save lives, and we're heroes, kind of. You're definitely heroes, Sophia said. All three of you. My heroes. They walked to the car together. Marcus drove them home back to Michael's house that no longer felt like a place he was barely holding on to, but a place he'd fought to protect. The mortgage was paid off now. The medical bills cleared. Sophia had refused to take no for an answer. That night, after the girls were asleep, Michael sat on his porch and looked at the stars. His phone buzzed. Text from Sophia. Thank you for jumping, for staying, for believing, for everything. He texted back. Thank you for being worth saving. 3 dots appeared, then disappeared, then appeared again. Finally. Want to grab coffee tomorrow? Talk about what comes next. Michael smiled. Yeah, I'd like that. He put his phone away and breathed in the night air. Cool, clean, free. Somewhere in Pleasant Valley, the river still flowed, still dark, still cold, still dangerous. But Michael wasn't afraid of it anymore. Because sometimes you jumped into dark water not knowing if you'd survive. And sometimes, if you were very lucky and very brave and very stubborn, you came out the other side, stronger than you'd ever been before. With daughters who called you a hero. With purpose that meant something. With scars that reminded you what you'd survived. Michael Walsh had jumped into a river to save a drowning woman. And in the end, she'd helped save him right back. The coffee shop Sophia chose was small and local. The kind of place where the barista knew everyone's order and the pastries came from a real bakery instead of a factory. Michael arrived 5 minutes early, nervous in a way he hadn't been even during the arraignment. This felt different, personal, like the beginning of something instead of the end. Sophia walked in exactly on time, wearing jeans and a sweater instead of her usual power suits. She looked younger somehow. More like the woman he'd pulled from the river, and less like the CEO who'd orchestrated a corporate takedown. You look terrified, she said, sliding into the booth across from him. I've faced down federal charges and armed kidnappers in the last week. Coffee with you shouldn't be scarier. But it is. She ordered a latte from the waitress, waited until they were alone again. Because everything else was survival. This is choice. Michael didn't know what to say to that, so he said nothing. Let the silence sit between them until it felt comfortable instead of awkward. The trial for Whitfield and the others starts in 3 months, Sophia said finally. The prosecutor wants us both to testify. Tell the whole story. River rescue to arrests. Everything. Will you? Yes. Will you? Yeah. They threatened my daughters. They murdered your father. They deserve whatever's coming. Michael stirred his coffee, even though he hadn't added anything to it. But that's not why you wanted to meet, is it? No. Sophia took a breath, like she was about to jump off something high. I wanted to talk about Horizon, about what happens next. The Phoenix system is out there now. Being manufactured, being distributed, saving lives. But it needs oversight, quality control, someone who understands manufacturing and engineering and refuses to cut corners, even when it's cheaper. You're offering me a job, a real one this time. I'm offering you a partnership, director of operations, equal stake in decision-making, salary that reflects your actual worth instead of what some factory was willing to pay you. She met his eyes. I'm offering you a chance to build something that matters, to honor what my father started, to make sure the Phoenix system reaches everyone who needs it. Michael thought about his house, his daughters, the life he'd almost lost and barely gotten back. I don't know anything about running a company. You know about building things, making things work, keeping things honest. That's what Horizon needs. That's what I need. Her voice softened. I can't do this alone, Michael. I thought I could. Thought I was strong enough to carry my father's legacy and fight the people trying to destroy it and run a company all at the same time. But I'm not. I need help. I need someone who jumps into rivers without calculating the odds first. That's not strategic thinking. That's just stupid. It's brave, and brave is what changes the world. Sophia pulled out a folder, slid it across the table. This is the offer. Look it over. Think about it. Talk to your daughters. But know that I mean it. Every word. Michael opened the folder. The salary made his hands shake. The benefits package included college funds for Emma and Sarah. The equity stake meant he'd own part of something worth hundreds of millions. It was everything he'd never dared dream about. Why me? He asked. You could hire anyone. Someone with credentials and experience, and because you turned down $5 million, because you kept your promise to your daughters, because when everything fell apart, you didn't run or break or betray. She paused. Because I trust you, and trust is worth more than credentials. Michael closed the folder. I need to talk to Emma and Sarah. They've been through enough. They deserve a say in what happens next. Of course. Take all the time you need. They finished their coffee talking about smaller things. The Phoenix System's expansion, the media coverage, the congressional hearings that were being scheduled to investigate Nexus Health's entire business model. It felt normal, easy, like they'd known each other for years instead of days. When Michael got home, both girls were doing homework at the kitchen table. Emma looked up as he walked in. How was coffee with Ms. Sophia? Good. She offered me a job, a big one. Sarah's eyes went wide. Are you going to take it? I don't know yet. That's why I wanted to talk to you both. Michael sat down with them, pushed aside math worksheets and spelling tests. This job would mean working at Horizon full-time. It would mean good money, really good. College funds for both of you. A house that doesn't leak when it rains. Everything we've needed and couldn't afford. But Emma's voice had the tone of someone who'd learned to hear the catches in her father's words. But it would also mean staying involved with everything that just happened. The trial, the media attention, people knowing our names, our lives not being private anymore. Are we in danger? Sarah's hand went to her inhaler, a reflex when she got scared. No, baby. The bad men are in jail. We're safe now. But this job would keep us connected to all of it. To Sophia, to Horizon, to the Phoenix System. It would change our lives. Emma was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, Ms. Sophia's technology is saving people's lives. People like Sarah who need medicine but can't afford it. If you help her, you'd be saving people too, right? I guess so. Yeah. Then you should do it. Emma said it like it was obvious. You saved Ms. Sophia from the river. Now you can help her save other people. That's good. What about you, Sarah? What do you think? Sarah looked at her sister, then at Michael. Will we still live here, in our house? We could, or we could move somewhere nicer, bigger, whatever you want. I like our house. It's home. Then we'll stay here. Fix it up, make it perfect. Michael felt something settle in his chest. A decision that had been unclear suddenly crystallizing. You two are sure, because this is a big deal. This changes everything. Everything already changed when you jumped in that river, Emma said. This is just what happens next. Michael called Sophia that night after the girls were asleep. I'm in. I'll take the job. Yeah. He could hear the smile in her voice. Yeah, on one condition. Name it. Sarah wants to stay in our house. So whatever needs to happen, we're not moving. Not unless the girls decide they want to. Done. I'll have contractors there next week. New roof, new plumbing, whatever it needs. Your house, your rules. Sophia, you don't have to. Michael, you saved my life, risked federal prison for me. Nearly lost your daughters because of choices I made. Fixing your roof is literally the least I can do. Her voice went soft. Besides, I like the idea of you staying in that house. The place where this all started. Where you decided to jump in the river. Feels right somehow. Michael looked around his small, shabby living room, the place he'd barely been able to afford. The place that had been falling apart around him while he worked himself to exhaustion just to keep food on the table. Now it was becoming something else. Not just a house he was holding on to, but a home he was choosing. When do I start? Monday. If that works. We've got a lot to build. Monday came fast. Michael dropped Emma and Sarah at school, drove to Horizon Technologies, and walked through doors that a week ago he'd been dragged through in handcuffs. Now he had a badge, an office, a title that made him sound important. His office was on the same floor as Sophia's, connected by a corridor lined with photos of her father. Dr. James Reynolds in labs and clinics and rural hospitals, always smiling, always working, always looking like someone who'd found purpose bigger than himself. He would have liked you. Sophia appeared in Michael's doorway. My father. He had this thing about people who worked with their hands. Said you couldn't really understand engineering until you'd watched machines fail at 3 a.m. on a production line. Sounds like a smart man. He was. Also stubborn. Refused to quit even when quitting made sense. Drove my mother crazy. Sophia stepped into the office, looked at the empty walls waiting to be filled. I was thinking we should put Phoenix system units in here, the real ones, reminders of what we're fighting for. I'd like that. They spent the morning going over operations, manufacturing partners, quality control protocols, distribution networks spanning 40 countries now and growing daily. The Phoenix system wasn't just a device anymore. It was a movement, a proof that medicine could be accessible, that profit didn't have to come before people. We're getting requests from other companies, Sophia said over lunch in her office. Medical device manufacturers who want to go open source with their technology. They saw what we did, saw the impact, want to follow the model. That's incredible. It's my father's dream coming true. He always said medical patents were immoral, that you couldn't own the right to save lives. That knowledge should be free. She pulled up emails from companies in 7 countries. We could help them. Create a foundation specifically for releasing medical technology. Make it bigger than just Phoenix. Michael felt the scope of it expanding. That would take resources, infrastructure, people who know what they're doing. Good thing I just hired one of those people. Sophia smiled. What do you think, ready to change the world again? I think I'm still processing changing it the first time. Fair. But think about it. We've got momentum, media support, public goodwill. We could actually shift how medical technology works globally. Break the profit model. Make saving lives more important than making money. And make enemies of every pharmaceutical company and medical device manufacturer on the planet. Probably. But we already did that with Nexus. Might as well go big. She was only half joking. Michael could see the fire in her eyes. The same intensity that had kept her fighting after her father died. The same refusal to quit that had nearly gotten them both sent to prison. Let me talk to my daughters first. They deserve to know if their dad's about to start another war. That night, Michael sat Emma and Sarah down and explained Sophia's idea. A foundation. Open source medical technology. Fighting to make treatment accessible worldwide. Would it be dangerous? Emma asked. Like last time. Maybe. Probably not as dramatic, no kidnappings or arrests. But yeah, some people wouldn't like it. We'd be threatening their profits. But we'd be saving lives, Sarah said. Like with the Phoenix thing. Phoenix system. Yeah, we'd be saving lives. Emma looked at her sister, some silent communication passing between them. Then she turned back to Michael. We talked about it. Sarah and me. While you were in jail and we were at the safe house. We talked about what it means to have a dad who's a hero. I'm not... Let me finish. Emma's voice had that edge that reminded Michael painfully of his ex-wife. We decided it's scary. Having a dad who does dangerous things, but it's also cool. Like our friends' dads work at offices and do boring stuff. You saved a CEO and fought bad guys and went on TV. That's pretty awesome. Even though it meant you were in danger. Even though, Sarah nodded. Because you were doing it for the right reasons. to help people. That matters more than safe. Michael felt something break open in his chest. Pride and fear and love all mixed together. "When did you two get so wise?" "We've always been wise," Emma said seriously. "You just didn't notice because you were too busy being a hero." Michael laughed, pulled them both into a hug. "Okay, I'll tell Sophia we're in. But you two have to promise me something. If it ever gets too scary, if you ever want me to stop, you tell me. No hesitation. You're more important than any foundation or mission or world-changing plan. Got it?" "Got it," they said in unison. The foundation launched 3 months later. The same day David Whitfield's trial began. The media loved the narrative. Life versus death. Greed versus compassion. A father and daughter team fighting to honor a dead man's legacy while his killers faced justice. Michael sat in the courtroom with Sophia watching prosecutors lay out the case. The forged documents, the stolen research, the payments to Peter Krause, the potassium chloride in Dr. Reynolds' medical files, the conspiracy that had ended in murder. Whitfield looked smaller than Michael remembered, diminished. A man who'd been powerful now facing the reality that power wasn't permanent, that sometimes the people you tried to crush fought back and won. "How do you feel?" Michael whispered to Sophia during a recess. "Empty, angry, satisfied, all of it at once." She watched Whitfield being led past in handcuffs. "I thought I'd feel vindicated when this moment came. But mostly I just feel tired." "You earned the right to be tired." "So did you. Factory worker to corporate director in 3 months. That's gotta be exhausting." "It's terrifying. Every day I wake up convinced I'm about to be exposed as a fraud, that someone's going to realize I don't belong in boardrooms and corner offices." "You belong exactly where you are." Sophia turned to face him. "You know what my father used to say, that the best leaders are the ones who never wanted power, who took it only because someone had to and nobody else would do it right." Sounds like he was describing you. Maybe, but he was also describing you. She glanced at the courtroom where the trial was resuming. "Come on, let's watch these bastards go down." The trial lasted 6 weeks. Testimony from forensic accountants and cybersecurity experts and FBI agents who'd built the case. The evidence was overwhelming. Krause broke first, taking a plea deal to testify against Whitfield and Reeves. His testimony was devastating. Detailed descriptions of the murder, the hack, the kidnapping attempt. Everything. The jury deliberated for 4 hours. Guilty on all counts. Whitfield got life without parole. Reeves got 35 years. Krause got 20 with the plea deal. Michael and Sophia stood on the courthouse steps afterward, surrounded by reporters and cameras and people who wanted statements and reactions and sound bites. "Justice has been served," Sophia said into a dozen microphones. "My father can rest now, and the Phoenix system he died protecting is saving lives in 53 countries. That's his legacy. Not the men who killed him, not the greed that tried to stop him, but the lives being saved because he refused to quit." "Mr. Walsh, how does it feel to see your daughter's kidnapper convicted?" Michael thought about Peter Krause's hand on Emma's shoulder, about the terror in her eyes, about the nightmares she still had sometimes. "It feels like my daughters are safer, like the world is slightly more just, like maybe doing the right thing actually matters." He paused. "And it feels like the beginning, not the end, because we've still got work to do." That work consumed the next year. The foundation expanded from medical devices to medications. Insulin formulae released open source. Cancer treatments, antibiotics, everything that could be freed from patent protection and profit motives. Not everyone appreciated it. Pharmaceutical companies sued. Politicians called them reckless. Industry groups accused them of destroying innovation incentives. But the public support was massive. Patients who couldn't afford treatment before could now. Hospitals in poor regions could manufacture their own medications. Lives were being saved by the thousands. Michael's daughters grew up in the middle of it. Emma started a blog about medical accessibility that went viral. Sarah spoke at a congressional hearing about what it meant to have asthma in a country where inhalers cost more than rent. They became faces of the movement. Children who'd nearly been destroyed by corporate greed now fighting to change the system. "I'm proud of them," Michael told Sophia one evening. They were in the office late reviewing proposals for the next technology release. "But I'm also terrified. They're too young to carry this weight. They're exactly old enough, and they're not carrying it alone." Sophia pulled up photos on her computer. The Phoenix system in use. A grandmother in Kenya getting dialysis. A father in Brazil. A teenager in rural America. They're carrying it with thousands of people. Millions, really. Everyone who's been helped by what we've built. What your father built, what you protected. What we built together. She turned to face him. "You know that night in the river, when you pulled me out, and I said that thing about the water washing away sins? I remember. Didn't understand it then. Not sure I understand it now. I was ready to die. Had been ready for months, living with the knowledge that my father was murdered and I couldn't prove it. That his life's work might be stolen or destroyed. That everything he believed in might die with him." Her voice went quiet. "I drove into that storm planning to drive off the bridge, planning to make it look like an accident so insurance would pay out, so Horizon could continue without me." Michael felt cold. "You were trying to kill yourself. I was trying to end the pain, but then you jumped in, pulled me out, breathed life back into me, and I realized I wasn't done fighting yet." She met his eyes. "You saved my life, Michael. Not just from the river. From giving up. From letting them win." Sophia. "I'm not telling you this for sympathy or thanks. I'm telling you because you deserve to know what that moment meant. What you mean." She reached across the desk, took his hand. "You changed everything. For me. For Horizon. For millions of people who'll never know your name but are alive because you jumped." Michael didn't know what to say to that, so he just held her hand and let the moment be what it was. 2 years after the river, they rebuilt the Pleasant Valley Bridge. New guardrails, better lighting, safety improvements. The town council wanted to name it after Dr. James Reynolds, but Sophia asked them to name it something else instead. The Second Chance Bridge. "Because that's what it gave us," she explained at the dedication ceremony. "Michael and me. My father's legacy. Everyone touched by the Phoenix system. A second chance to get it right. To choose people over profit. To jump into dark water and save something worth saving." Michael stood beside her with Emma and Sarah watching the ribbon cutting. The bridge looked different now, stronger, safer. A place where accidents were less likely to happen. But he could still see it the way it had been that night. Storm-torn, dangerous. The place where headlights disappeared into darkness and everything changed. "Dad?" Emma tugged his sleeve. "Are you okay?" "Yeah, baby, just remembering. The scary night. The night that changed everything." He pulled her close. "The night I became who I was supposed to be." The ceremony ended. People dispersed. Michael found himself walking to the middle of the bridge, looking down at the water below. Not black anymore. Daylight turned it gray-green and almost peaceful. Sophia joined him at the railing. "Do you ever regret it? Jumping in everything that came after? Every single day?" He said it honestly. "I regret the fear. The danger to my daughters. The nights I couldn't sleep. The way my life got torn apart and rebuilt into something I barely recognize. But I'd do it again, every time, because some things are worth jumping for." He looked at her. "You were worth jumping for. So were you." They stood there as the sun set over Pleasant Valley, turning the water copper and gold. The river that had almost killed them both. The river that had changed everything. Behind them, Emma and Sarah were arguing about something trivial and wonderful. Normal kid stuff. The kind of problems you got to worry about when the bigger problems had been solved. "Want to get dinner?" Sophia asked. "The four of us. There's this place by my house that does great pasta." "Is this a date? Are you asking me on a date?" "I'm asking if you want pasta. Whether it's a date depends on how it goes." Michael smiled. "Then yeah. I want pasta. We want pasta. Right, girls." "Is Ms. Sophia paying?" Emma called back. "I can pay," Michael said. "But is she paying?" Emma insisted. "Because she's like a millionaire, and you're just regular rich now." Sophia laughed. "I'm paying, and yes, Emma, I'm a millionaire. But your dad's not just regular rich. He's changed the world rich. That's worth more." They walked off the bridge together. A single father and two daughters and a CEO who'd survived drowning and murder attempts and federal charges. A family that hadn't existed 3 years ago, now inseparable. The river flowed beneath them, dark and cold and dangerous as ever. But they weren't afraid of it anymore, because they'd already survived the worst it could do. They'd jumped into the darkness and found each other. They'd fought wars and won battles and built something that mattered. And sometimes, Michael thought, as Emma's hand slipped into his, sometimes jumping into freezing water to save a stranger turned out to be the smartest thing you ever did. Even if it took everything you had to survive it. Even if the scars never fully healed. Even if the fear never completely went away. Because on the other side of that jump was a life worth living, a purpose worth fighting for, a family worth protecting. And that Michael Walsh decided as they piled into Sophia's car and drove toward pasta and arguments and laughter was worth any river, any risk, any price. He'd jumped once. He'd do it again, every single time.